Okay, it is 10 o'clock, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. Aloha mai kako. Good morning, everyone. This is the February 5th, 2025 Land Use Commission meeting. This is a hybrid meeting in which is physically located at the Leopapa A Kamehameha State Office Tower, 235 South Beretania Street, room 405, Honolulu, Hawaii, 96813. This meeting is open to the public. Court reporting transcriptions are being done from the Zoom recording of this meeting. For all meeting participants, I'd like to stress the importance of speaking slowly, clearly, and directly into your microphone. And please, before speaking each time, state your name and identify yourself for the record. This is a hybrid meeting, and please be aware that all meeting participants are being recorded on the digital record of this Zoom meeting, which will be posted on YouTube and used for court reporting purposes. Your continued participation is your implied consent to be part of the public record of this event. If you do not wish to be part of the public record, you should exit the meeting now. Please note that the Q&A feature on the Zoom will only be monitored for signing up for public testimony. All other communications will not be addressed or part of the meeting record. Communications can also be emailed to our office at dbed, which is dbed.luc.web@hawaii.gov. I will also share with all participants that we'll be taking breaks from time to time, nominally 5 minutes every hour. We'll also be taking a 30-minute break for lunch today. My name is Dan Giovanni, and I have the pleasure to serve as the LUC chair. So we currently have 9 seated commissioners on the commission. Along with me today is Commissioner Michael Yamane. He is from island of Kauai. Commissioner Mel Kahele, Commissioner Brian Lee are from Oʻahu. Commissioner Mile Miyasato is joining us by Zoom. Commissioner Miyasato, would you please clarify where you are and that you are alone in your room, wherever that is?
Yes, I'm at my residence on the Big Island and I am alone.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Carr Smith is from the island of Hawaii. Commissioner Bruce Oʻahu is from the island of Maui. Commissioner Hayashida has recused himself from the agenda item this morning, which is docket doing with business with docket number 889-651, and he'll join us later in the meeting. Just one. Commissioner Kamakero Helo is also excused today due to a family emergency. So we have in attendance today in present and by Zoom 7 of the 9 commissioners. And that will change from day to day, from hour to hour, I say. So commissioners, I'm planning a hard stop at today's meeting at 4 o'clock. Does anybody have a need to exit the meeting before 4 o'clock? Commissioner Oʻahu?
Yeah, I need to leave at 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, thank you.
Chair,
Mr. Chair.
Chair, I also have a scheduled meeting, another meeting at 2 o'clock.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'll be leaving sometime after lunch.
Okay, thank you. So it looks like we'll be close to quorum level. Quorum for our business after lunch will be when these gentlemen have to depart, or is 5 people. We'll see where we stand at that time. I'm also excuse me. This is a new one. If someone over the age of 18 is in attendance with a commissioner. Oh, got it. So we don't have that. All right. Also in attendance today are the LUC Executive Officer, Daniel Orendecker, LUC Land Use Development Coordinator, Arnold Wong, LUC Chief Planner, Scott Derrickson, LUC Staff Planner, Martina Segura, LUC Chief Clerk, Ariana Kwan, and to my left, LUC Deputy Attorney General, Miranda Steed. Again, court reporting transcriptions are being done from the Zoom recording. The chair is going to take one agenda item out of order, and that is the adoption of minutes from our meeting of January 22nd. So let us go to that. It's not recognized as agenda item 3. That's the adoption of minutes from our meeting of January 22nd, 2025. Ms. Kwan, has there been any written testimony submitted on the January 22nd minutes?
No, Mr. Chair.
Are any members of the public signed up to testify on the adoption of the minutes from January 22nd?
Seeing none in the Q&A feature, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And none present in the room have signed up?
None in the room, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioners, are there any corrections or comments on the minutes? And if not, is there a motion to adopt the minutes?
I'll make a motion to adopt the minutes.
Commissioner Wu moves to adopt the minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Carr Smith. All in favor of adoption of minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. Thank you. The minutes are adopted. We'll now return to the second agenda item. This order of business pertains to docket number the letter A, 89-651, Haseko, parentheses, ʻEwa, close parentheses, Incorporated. This agenda item is to consider the petitioner's motion for approval of job credits as required by the Land Use Commission DNO issued on October 17th, 1990. This time, I'd like the parties to identify themselves for the record, starting with the petitioner.
Thank you, Chair. Curtis Tabata. Good morning, Chair Giovanni, Vice Chair Yamane, members of the Commission, Curtis Tabata and Benjamin Matsubara for the petitioner, Haseko ʻEwa Inc. Also present today from Haseko at the table with me is our Vice President of Development, Daniel Sandemeyer, and in-house counsel, Kelly Uwaini. Sitting behind us is Vice President of Site Development, Peter Kwan, and Site Manager of Development, Daniel Lam.
Mr. Tabata, is Mr. Sandemeyer planning to provide any testimony today?
We're not planning on it, Chair. He's just here as a resource, as is everyone else.
Okay, so if we come to a point where we ask them questions, I'll swear them in at the time.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. From the county?
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Chair, and on Zoom.
Very good.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners, Pono Arias, Deputy Corporation Counsel. On behalf of the City and County of Honolulu Department of Planning and Permitting, Dina Wong and Franz Krantz from the department are also online.
Thank you very much. If any of your colleagues are going to testify, I'll swear them in at the time.
Very well.
From the OPSD?
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. Ellison Kato, Deputy Attorney General for the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development. Also here is Mary Alice Evans, Director of OPSD, and Aaron Sadagawa, Planner at OPSD. Thank you.
Do Ms. Evans or Aaron plan to testify today?
No, Chair.
Okay, very well. So I'd like to go over the reimbursement policy, Mr. Bata. Have you reviewed HAR section 1515-45.1 regarding reimbursement of hearing expenses?
Yes, we have, and we will comply.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to identify any potential disclosures and conflicts of interest. So in accordance with HRS 684-14, commissioners are not allowed to take any official action affecting a business in which they or a member of the family has a financial interest. They must therefore recuse themselves from this matter if there is any benefit, monetary or otherwise, to themselves or members of their family. Also, in accordance with the legal ethical standards, commissioners should disclose any relationship, business, social, or otherwise, that they may have with the petitioner or its representatives or any of the other parties in this proceeding that may give rise to the allegation of bias or impropriety. So I have stated earlier that Commissioner Hayashida has recused himself from this agenda item. So commissioners, any of you have any other disclosures or conflicts of interest you'd like to make at this time? Seeing none, we will proceed. Let me briefly explain the procedures for today. First, I will recognize the written public testimony that has been submitted on this matter. Next, I will call for members of the public who wish to provide oral testimony on this matter. The petitioner will then be called upon to make a presentation in support of his motion. The petitioner's presentation, after the petitioner's presentation, I will ask the county and their state to present their comments. The commissioners will have an opportunity to ask questions of the parties at the conclusion of each of their presentations. I will then reopen the floor for public testimony and additional oral testimony on this matter. The parties will be given an opportunity for closing arguments. Finally, the commission will deliberate on the matter based on the testimony and evidence presented. Chair would like to remind everyone I will be calling for short breaks, normally 5 minutes per hour. Does anybody have a comment or an objection to the procedure? Mr. Tabata.
No comment or objection.
Thank you. City and County of Honolulu, any objection?
No comment or objection.
Ms. Kato,
None, thank you.
very good. As stated on today's agenda, please be informed that the relevant records and documents pertaining to this matter can be accessed for review on the LUC website at https://luc.hawaii.gov/A89-651. Public testimony. I'll now recognize written public testimony submitted in this matter. Ms. Kwan, has there been any written testimony submitted on this matter?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we received 2 on February 3rd, 1 on February 4th, all posted on the website.
Thank you very much. Ms. Kwan, is there any members of the public that wish to testify on this matter?
If anyone on the Zoom would like to provide oral testimony on this item, please use the Q&A feature now. Seeing none, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Tabata, will you please provide your presentation?
Thank you, Chair. Curtis Tabata for petitioner. Haseko is here today to ask the commission to approve 374.78 job credits. 2 similar motions in 1994 and 2022 have been granted by the commission approving 575.22 job credits. So if our motion today is approved, that will give us a total of 950 job credits, which will allow Haseko to build up to 950 hotel and hotel condominium units at Haseko's Ocean Point and Ho'akale project. Haseko's Ocean Point and Ho'akale project is located at ʻEwa Beach, Oʻahu, and is comprised of 1,100 acres and includes residential, light industrial, commercial, retail, visitor accommodations, a recreational lagoon, golf course, district park, childcare center, and a public elementary school. I'm just providing this background information because that project is the underlying matter that concerns our job credits motion. So the Ocean Point and Ho'akale project is permitted to include up to 4,850 housing units, of which approximately 82% have been built and sold to individual homeowners. The visitor accommodation component of the project includes up to the 950 hotel and hotel condominium units that I mentioned. Now, shifting to the job credits, Condition 1 of our LUC decision and order requires that we obtain 1 job credit for each hotel or hotel condominium unit that we intend to build. Therefore, we need 950 job credits to build the 950 hotel units. Now, the process for obtaining job credits starts with accrued job credits that results from these math formulas that are applied to categories that are listed in condition 1 that include non-tourism related construction hours, facility square footage, job training, and investments. Okay, so these accrued job credits that we keep track of are required to be reported in Haseko's written annual reports to the LUC. Once the reported job credits reported job credits become approved job credits after the commission provides its approval in motions like the one we are hearing today. And the approved job credits is a precondition to obtaining the building permit. So that's why we need job credits that are approved by the LUC. And so far, the commission has approved 575.22 job credits. Today, we are asking the commission to approve the remaining 374.78 job credits, which are based upon 2,372.3 investment-related job credits that were reported for years 2022 and 2023. These reported job credits are derived from an investment of $118,615,000 in a startup business called Waikai Commercial Development LLC, which was used to develop the commercial center called Waikai. Waikai is a new concept for a commercial center that is anchored by the Waikai Wave, the first stationary deep water surf wave in Hawaii that caters to all skill levels with adjustable wave settings. Built around the Waikai Wave are restaurants, retail, lagoon activities, and 80,000 square feet of community gathering space for festivals, farmers markets, and food trucks. In conclusion, this annual process of reporting accrued job credits based on actual construction hours, built facilities, and contributions and investments, together with the motions to approve job credits, has been an over 30-year journey for Haseko. With this final piece of the puzzle, Haseko hopes to complete its vision for Ocean Point and Ho'akalea. We would like to thank the Hawaii Regional Council of Carpenters, the Pacific Resource Partnership, and Ewa Beach resident Mitchell Tenanes for their written testimony in support of our motion. And thank you to the LUC staff, the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development, and the Department of Planning and Permitting for reviewing and recommending approval of our motion, and to the Land Use Commission for taking the time to consider our request. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Tabata. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Tabata at this time? Seeing none. Okay, we'll move on to OPSD.
Thank you. Allison Kato, the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development supports approval of petitioner's motion for approval of job credits. And the situation was already described by petitioner, so I won't go over it again. But after review of petitioner's motion and supporting documentation and meeting with petitioner to discuss the same, OPSD is satisfied with petitioner's representations and calculation of job credits. And OPSD finds that petitioner has complied with all of the requirements and restrictions set out in the Commission's DNO for approval of the requested 374.78 job credits. Based on this, OPSD recommends approval and note that if approved, condition 1 of the 1990 DNO as amended will be fully satisfied, and petitioner will be able to begin construction of up to 950 units. We're available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kato. Commissioners, any questions for OPSD? Seeing none, thank you. City and County of Honolulu, do you have any comment or presentation to make at this time?
Thank you, Chair. Pono Arias. No presentation. The city stands on the written comments it provided, and has no objections to the LUC granting this motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, any questions or comments for City and County of Honolulu? Commissioner Wu.
Good morning, and I just wanted to make mention that, I'm from Maui, so when we this is a great example of a good developer. So I watched the video of the last meetings that you guys did. I listened to the testimony. I've read through uh, almost everything that was given to me. And for me, at the time and place where I am on Maui, I always feel like we should have the ability to pick and hand pick good developers that uh, reflective of when people have the bad developer concept. You guys are completely the opposite of that. I just wanted to make that known. You guys are a great example of a good developer. And at times that's missing. So I applaud you for your efforts. I thank you for being patient. I've never seen a condition like condition number one in my life until I was here. And I applaud your efforts. I would love to make a motion to approve if it's
A
on.
little bit early, but I will
It's a-
give you the opportunity. I will give you the opportunity.
Okay, thank you.
To make
Well,
at the appropriate time. But I will add my personal comment. Commissioner Oʻahu, I remember that hearing the last time we heard them on Job Critics, and it was an incredible attendance by community people who live in that area and who had benefited from this development and who spoke so favorably of the work that had been done by Haseko. So I echo Commissioner Oʻahu's comments. Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'd like to call on the staff, the LUC staff who have reviewed the petition and the motion and for their recommendation to commission on this. So Ms. Segura, do you have something?
Hi, this is Martina Segura for the record. I prepared the staff report and got it approved for submittal on January 30th, 2025. So that's when it was posted to the Land Use Commission website for public review. Thank you. After review of the motion and the exhibits, staff suggests approval of the motion in front of us, and that's for the request for 374.78 startup job credits.
Thank you, Ms. Segura. Commissioners, any question for staff?
I had one quick question, please, for
Mr.
whoever.
Carr-Smith?
Can you just clarify for me, it's a lot of numbers involved here. With approval of these credits, does that completely satisfy condition one?
Yes. So according to condition one, there's a total of 950 job credits needed to begin development of the hotel portion of the project.
Thank you.
Mr. Tabata, you concur with that?
Yes, Chair, I concur.
So in other words, this is the last time you come to the commission to ask for approval of job credits.
Well, I always want to return, Chair, but I believe this is
For this
it.
purpose.
I think so.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So, commissioners, any questions for any of the parties? If not, I'll return to public testimony one more time. Ms. Kwan, we do a second round of public testimony. Are any members of the public wish to provide new additional testimony at this time?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have Healani Sonadapale on the Zoom who would like to give oral testimony. I'll promote her now.
Thank you. Let me know when she's there.
Healani, can you give me a mic check?
Yeah. Hi, aloha.
Ms. Polly, could you please state your name and address for the record, and then I'll swear you in?
Sure. My name is Helani Sonora Pole. My address is 6119 Kabe Q Place, Honolulu, Hawaii, 96821.
Thank you very much. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yeah, to my understanding, yes, it is. Yes, it's public knowledge.
But whatever you're going to testify to, in your mind, it's the truth. Yes. So please
Yes.
proceed. You have 2 minutes.
Okay, aloha, I'm actually, testifying on behalf of Kalahui, Hawaii, which is a Native initiative for self-determination and self-governance. We are in strong opposition to granting job credits or financial incentives to Haseko. We do not, believe that we should reward corporations that have repeatedly harmed our environment, violated cultural protections, and misled the community. Haseko has a long history of failing to uphold environmental responsibility. The most glaring is the abandoned promise to the Hoakale Marina and the landlocked lagoon. But I want to focus, since I only have 2 minutes, on the desecration of Native Hawaiian burials. Haseko's disregard for cultural heritage is another reason they should not be rewarded with job credits. In 2007, during excavations of over 60 Native Hawaiian burials, that's in 60 Native Hawaiian kupuna, were disturbed on land where their resort and residential development was being built. This caused immense pain to the Kanaka Maoli community as the remains of the ancestors were treated as obstacles rather than sacred artifacts deserving of respect. The treatment of these remains violated traditional Hawaiian values, raised serious concerns about whether proper consultation with cultural experts had taken place before construction. Instead of prioritizing cultural preservation, Haseko's development has repeatedly forced the community to fight for protection of their ancestors after damage was already done. This pattern of disregard shows that they are not responsible stewards of our land. Our taxpayer funds should not reward bad corporate behavior. Granting job credits to Haseko would be sending the wrong message that corporations can damage the environment, desecrate cultural sites, and be rewarded with taxpayer-funded benefits. Haseko, time and time again, has demonstrated, and this is over decades of their interactions with the ʻEwa community, that their priority is profit, not environmental sustainability, cultural respect, or long-term community well-being. If the state is to grant job credits, they should be reserved for companies that uphold ethical development, cultural integrity, and environmental responsibility, not corporations with a history of deception and harm. And that's my final thing on Haseko. We all know about their development at Waikai. That lagoon that was created is part of the damage that they've done to our water table. They've actually cracked the water table. And that is unacceptable to me. They were instrumental in destroying multiple cultural sites in that area in One'ula, and they have not been responsible when it comes to protecting that is what is most sacred to us as Kanaka Maoli. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony and for you taking time to come to us today. So commissioners, well, let me go to petitioner first. Do you have any comments or questions on this testimony?
No questions, Chair.
City and County of Honolulu, do you have any comments or questions for this witness?
Hi, Pono Arias. No comments or questions.
Thank you. OPSD, any comments or questions for this witness?
Allison Cato, no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, any comments or questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you very much for being here today. Ms. Kwan, is there anybody else that have signed up to testify?
If anyone on the Zoom would like to testify, please use the Q&A feature now. I see Bianca Asaki raising her hand. I'm assuming it's for testimony. I'll promote her now.
Thank you.
Good morning. I hope it's okay. My camera is not working very well today. I'd just like to testify on the first item on the Haseko job credits. Because I understand
One
that
second.
One second.
oh, sorry.
You ready?
Yeah.
So Ms. Isaki, please state your name and affiliation and address for the record. Then I'll swear you in and then you can testify.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. Bianca Isaki. I'm testifying as an individual. I live in Kaneohe. My address is 46379 Kumo'o Loop.
So Ms. Isaki, do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes.
So please proceed. This is on the agenda item for Haseko only. So please proceed. You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll be brief. I want to echo everything that the former testifier or the last testifier presented. Also, I noticed that condition 1C says that the petitioner may receive 1 job credit for each $50,000 invested in a startup of non-tourism related businesses. And then they invested, I guess, over $118,000 in the Waikai, and they're asking for 2,372.3 job credits for that. But I mean, Waikai is like perhaps locals also go there, but I'll just note that like the introductory rate is $200 for 45 minutes. I believe a lot of tourists do go there, and I think that it's splitting hairs to say it is or is not a tourist, or that it is. I think it is a tourist accommodation. So I don't think that they should have those job credits, and that the job credits that they're asking should not, or they should, their motion to say that they have met all of their job credits should not be granted. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Isaki. Petitioner, any questions or comments for this witness?
No questions.
City and County of Honolulu, any comments or questions for Ms. Isaki?
Hi, Pono Arias. No comments or questions.
Thank you. OPSD, any comments or questions for this witness?
Allison Kato, no comments. Thank you.
Commissioners, any comments or questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you, Ms. Isaki, for taking the time today.
Thank you.
Ms. Kwan, is there anyone else?
We have one more on the Zoom. Her name is Lisa E. I will promote her now.
Thank you.
Lisa, can you turn on your camera and give us a mic check?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Morning. We do hear you. So Lisa, can you state your full name, your address, and then I'll swear you in to testify.
Actually, my full name is Lisa Inanoria Woodleckner. I actually work for Haseko as their community representative. So I just wanted to make myself available to kind of clarify some of the information that was given regarding some of the burials and us working.
One second.
Sorry.
Before you go before you go any farther, do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes.
Then please proceed. You have 2 minutes.
Hi. So some of the information that I heard was not exactly what occurred. There was, I believe, one burial that was found on the shoreline on state land. That was back in the early 2000s. And we did follow protocol by contacting SHPD. And we were able to eventually work with them and work with Huakale Culture Foundation. We wanted to make sure that there is a place for that EV to be reinterred and follow the proper procedures. And there is a spot that is in one of our preservations areas that we had the EV returned with the help of Huakale Culture Foundation, and that area is maintained. There was also another burial that was found that was on our property, not on state land. And we decided to keep that burial in place, and we actually redesigned the plans so that that burial would be safe and never disturbed again. I think it was in one of our Waikai Trail plans. So that's some of the information regarding burials that occurred on our site. We also do work with Huakale Culture Foundation to kind of promote the Native Hawaiian culture. They have programs that they do and that they actually do in the Huakale Culture Foundation 3 preservation, sorry. One of them is Kauhale Preserve, that they actually invite kids from Kamehameha schools and the local Boys and Girls Clubhouse and other partners that they may have in the community. And we have always deferred to them regarding a lot of the cultural aspects regarding in our project. So I just wanted to sign on and clarify those. If you guys have any questions, I'm here and available.
Thank you. So that was more part of your petitioner's representation.
Yes,
But
sorry.
I do welcome the comments. So, Mr. Tabata, do you want to add anything to this, what the witness said on behalf of us, Haseko?
No, we have no questions for the witness. Thank you.
Okay, City and County, any questions for the witness?
Hi, Pono Arias. No questions or comments.
OPSD, comments or questions?
Allison Cato, no questions or comments. Thank you.
Okay, commissioners? Commissioner
Sure.
Yamane,
I have a question for the petitioner.
go ahead.
Mr. Tabata, with like if the land use grants this order, what does that enable your client to do? And is there any time frame on what will happen next with the granting of this motion? What it does is it qualifies us to seek building permits for the hotels. Timing wise, right now, Haseko is in the process of marketing the resort property, and they're looking for a partner for the hotel or hotels. And we don't have there's no time frame. We're at that stage yet in the beginning. Okay, thank you. No more questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So, Ms. Kwan, is there anybody else who signed up for public testimony?
Seeing none in the Q&A feature, Chair.
Thank you. So now we'll proceed to closing arguments. So petitioner, based on what you've heard with public testimony and comments from commissioners, do you have any final closing statements you'd like to make?
Thank you, Chair. Curtis Tabata for petitioner. The only additional remarks I would like to make is that why we believe Waikai is non-tourism related. We have not built our hotels yet. Waikai received its certificate of occupancy back in 2023. It's been in operation, and I'm told they're getting good patronage. It's busy. We believe they are mostly local residents. Of course, tourists are welcome too, but on that basis, we believe that Waikai qualifies as a non-tourism related investment. Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Tabata? Mr. Tabata, can you state again for us what you have already completed in terms of housing on this project?
Right. Approximately 82% of 4,850 residential units have been built and sold. So there's about 12% more to go.
What's the plans for those?
We're in the process of completing them. I'm not sure if we have a specific time frame involved, but it's in process, I believe.
Is construction ongoing?
Yes, it is ongoing.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, anything further for the petitioner? City and County Honolulu, any closing statement?
Hi, Pono Arias. Nothing to add. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. OPSD, anything to add?
Allison Cato, no further comments. Thank you.
Good. So we'll now go into deliberations. The commission will conduct formal deliberations, whether to grant or deny the motion for job credits. I would note for the parties that the public that during the commissioner's deliberations, I will not entertain any additional input from the parties or the public. unless those individuals or entities are specifically requested to do so by the chair. If called upon, I would ask that they limit their comments to the question that has been asked. So commissioners, let me confirm that each of you have reviewed the record and are prepared to deliberate on the subject docket. After I call your name, would you please signify that either aye or nay, that you are prepared to deliberate? Commissioner Yamane,
Aye.
Commissioner Carr Smith,
Yes, I am.
Commissioner Lee,
Yes.
Commissioner Miyasato,
Aye.
Commissioner Kahele,
Yes.
Commissioner Uu,
Aye.
and the chair is also prepared to deliberate on this matter. Commissioners, the chairs will entertain a motion that the LUC grant or denies this motion, the petitioner's motion for approval of job credits as required by the Land Use Commission decision and order October 17th, 2000. Mr. Uu, please make your motion if you'd like to do so and the reasons for it.
I'd rather turn them over to someone from Oahu, if you don't mind, to make the motion.
Okay.
If they're in, I feel it's more appropriate,
Okay,
but I do support.
so do I have a motion?
Chair, I will make the motion.
Go ahead, Commissioner Lee.
I move that we approve the job credits as required by the Land Use Commission decision and order issued on October 17th, as requested by the petitioner.
Thank you. Do I have a second to the motion from Commissioner Lee?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Uu. Commissioner Lee, would you speak in favor, why you support the motion?
I don't have much to say. I think the petitioner complied with the terms of the agreement, and so I approve.
Very good. Commissioner Uu, we heard you earlier. Do you want to add anything?
I just like to add that what I mentioned earlier. Impressive. I think at this time, in the stages of what developers we need to lean on and depend on, I think you guys set a great example. Mahalo.
Thank you. Commissioners, any further questions or comments? Mr. Carr Smith?
Thank you, Chair. I just wondered if you guys would be open to adding to the motion just so everything's in it from the start. And that is to authorize the chairperson to execute the order necessary to effectuate the commission's decision. Subject to
you.
review and approval of the AG's office.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Lee, would you be welcome that friendly amendment?
I do, Chair.
Commissioner Uu, do you second that friendly amendment to authorize the chair to execute?
Yes. Aye.
Okay, so all in favor of the friendly amendment signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, so now we have a motion to approve the motion put forth by the petitioner and to authorize the chair to execute if we so move it forward. So, Mr. Orendecker, please poll the commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The motion is to approve the job credits as requested by the petitioner and authorize the chair to execute the decision in order. Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Uu,
Aye.
Commissioner Yamane,
Aye.
Commissioner Miyasato,
Aye.
Commissioner Kahele,
Aye.
Commissioner Carr Smith,
Aye.
Chair Giovanni.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, and thank you all for participating at this time. You Mr. Tabata?
Thank you. Chair, would you, do you want the petitioner to submit an order for LUC staff's consideration?
Yes, I would. That would be great.
That would be very helpful.
Thank you.
So you are all excused.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to take one more agenda item before we take a short break, and that is the presentation of our meeting schedule. This is item 4 on our agenda. So Mr. Orendecker, please present the schedule.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tomorrow, February 6th, if needed, we will be back here again to talk about the legislative updates. On February 19th, we will be on Maui at the Maui Arts and Cultural Center to do AO 77773, Emmanuel Lutheran status report. On March 19th, we have status report on the Toyama S special permit, which will be in Hilo. On the 20th, we'll be in Kona for the Ben Corp status report. And that is everything we have currently agendized, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Chair, I have a question.
Commissioner Lee?
I'm aware that there are conferences that are not on the calendar that commissioners and staff go to. So can that be made, that information be made available to commissioners in the future?
Certainly. So you're talking about conference like the HPCO conference that we attended?
I mean out of state ones, because we know, we all know about the local one, but we're not all made aware of the out of state conferences. And if there's good information that can be shared, I'm sure, you know, we would all like to know, you know, whatever we can from these valuable conferences.
Okay, so the chair would like to ask the staff, when it presents its regular meeting schedule at our meeting, if you have identified any conferences, out-of-state conferences that will be attended by staff or commissioners, just put them on the record at that time.
We will do so, Mr. Chair.
Are there any pending currently?
Let me see. I believe that the APA conference is coming up and the ULI Spring Conference is coming up. We also have the ESRI GIS conference in August, and we'll be sending at least one person to that.
Okay, so at our meeting on February 19th, please just give us a summary of what the plans are. That'd be great.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Yamani.
just I let staff know, but I won't be available on March 19 and 20. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And also the meetings that were tentatively scheduled for March 5 and 6 will not occur. Those had been identified at a previous meeting. So we have nothing on March 5 and 6. Is that correct?
Currently, we do not, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I'm not available for those that day.
Thank you.
Okay. So nothing, so we have February 19th, we have tomorrow, February 19th, and then we have March, the latter part of March. Commissioner Carson Smith, did you have something you wanted to say?
I did.
Okay, please.
Thank you. Just on the topic of conferences, I know that other boards and commissions that I've been on, when people go to conferences, it's typical that they come back to the board or commission and report what they've learned, anything that may affect that board or commission. So I also wanted to ask that be a part of the process.
I'm good with that, but let me ask staff to just provide a written summary rather than agendize that if staff attends.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pursuant to DBED policy, we have to submit a fairly significant summary of what we've learned, and I will make those available to the commissioners.
Thank you. Commissioner Lee?
Thank you, Chair. You know, if there are important matters that might need to be scheduled on March 5th and 6th, I urge you to consider having your vice chair take over if you are not available.
There's nothing on the agenda that's been requested.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. It is now 10:50. I'm going to take we're going to take a 10-minute break, and we'll be back at 11 o'clock to continue with our agenda. Okay, we're going back on the record. It's 11 o'clock. we've completed our first 4 agenda items. I'd also like the record to show that we are now joined by Commissioner Hayashida from Oʻahu. Thank you. So the next agenda item is a status report by the Land Use Development Coordinator. So Ms. Kwan, has there been any public testimony, written public testimony submitted on this matter?
No, Mr. Chair.
Has been anybody signed up to provide oral testimony on this matter?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so as soon as Commissioner Wu seats, we'll all be in our positions and I can call on Mr. Wong. Please proceed with your update.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Commissioners, for allowing me the time to provide an update on my work. Again, I will keep this information at a high level due to the fact that this body is quasi-judicial, and any information that may come to you in the near future, I don't want you to be excluded from proceedings due to ex parte communications. So that's, I just wanted to say it's a high level. To date, after communication with the owners, developers, and or their representatives, several projects have started to get back on track. I am happy to announce that we have been informed that by the end of this fiscal year, 2025, so that will end June 30th, we will have started to break ground on approximately 1,000 units throughout the state of Hawaii. This includes obtaining construction permits for, sorry, I gotta use my my terminology from when I used to work somewhere, grubbing, which means groundbreaking and digging up the dirt, to vertical construction, meaning they start the build process. This includes 400 units on Maui, 250 units on Oahu, and around approximately 500 units on Kauai. Big Island, we're still working on it, Chair, Commissioner Carr Smith. Has been some issues such as infrastructure that I brought up previously, and the cost factors and change of ownership. So we're still working on those. So just FYI, we haven't forgotten the Big Island or island of Hawaii. Additionally, we're continually contacting and meeting with existing dockets and looking at other projects. This is done by looking at the county projects, the listing that was provided to me by the commission. And I want to thank them because I didn't know about these permits and projects that are listed by counties. So thank you for giving me that opportunity to even look at that, to marry it up with our own dockets. Also, looking at GCA's list of permits, and also building industry magazines. So they just brought out a new magazine saying what construction projects are ongoing and see if they're dealing with our dockets and marrying it up. That's taking a little time, but it is being worked on. So I just wanted to thank you on that. And that's about it for now. If there's any questions, I'm here to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wong. Commissioners, questions for Mr. Wong? Commissioner Lee?
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Wong, how many of those projects that you mentioned would you say was a result of your intervention?
I'm going to say all.
Thank you.
And to expound on that, we have a couple projects that are from the same developer that has contacted us because they have other projects in the pipeline that have problems.
Can you give us just an example of some of the things that you did that helped unblock some of this? You know, you don't have to go into detail, but you know, you talked to the permit department, or you had got people to meet and resolve things, you know, something like that.
Right. So, working with Mr. Oradenker and asking for his assistance, we looked at, let's say, for example, there was issues with roadwork issues, you know, DOT. So we contacted DOT and, you know, got that roadblock done and you know, cleared out. Another was, for example, Haima. This is just a basic example where the developer, you know, said where they're going to put the units, the housing units and all that. but they forget the condition about putting that Haima siren. And so Haima says, wait, where are you gonna put our siren? And then it somehow they go like this, where one says, you go here. No, we cannot go there. And so that's when we meet with Haima and the developer to work out the details and get that passed. So that's one of the projects that has been done too.
Thank you, Mr. Wong. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, I got a question.
One second, just on this Haima. So in this example, the development could not go forward without a Haima approval?
Well, in the conditions itself, if you see that the land use commission has said that they have to meet with Haima and if needed, either put a siren or pay for a siren.
Yep.
Or give land.
Mr. Chair,
Please.
if I may, it was actually a little more complex than that. It's not that the developers don't recognize that they have to do something for Haima because it's in the decision and order. But sometimes Haima doesn't respond to their notifications that this is where they want to put it. You know, and then there's silence from Haima because Haima is not designed to respond to those type of things. And then there's recurring issues with several of the projects over, well, are we dedicating the land to Haima or are we just giving them a license or, I mean,
For the siren.
Yeah, for the siren. Haima is not set up to handle those types of issues. So we've been getting involved in negotiating settlements or agreements with regard to those type of things.
Commissioner Kahele?
Thank you, Chair. So, Mr. Wong, how long have these projects been sitting on the shelf?
Some are from 1970s. So we've when it first started, I didn't know where to start. I'm gonna tell you the truth. So started from when we first did DBAs and moved forward. But thankfully, I had Mr. Orodenker and the commission to say, hey, let's speed it up. Let's look for the low hanging fruit that is almost ready to be built. And that's how we started. I mean, got the ball moving.
I can,
Thank you, Honor.
yeah, if I can expound on that a little bit. And this is one of the reasons that Arnold is here. Before the late 80s, early 90s, we did not put timeframes on the development of projects. It was left to the developer to just do it whenever they felt like it. And so now we have a bunch of projects that were approved in the 70s and 80s that have just been languishing. And there's nothing that we can do because we didn't put a time frame on them. So those projects very often languish for reasons that are a little more difficult to handle. There may be financing, the banks may have taken them back or whatever. And those are more difficult to navigate through. So we made the decision to attack projects that were just tied up for bureaucratic reasons, so to speak, and to attack those first so that we could have as much of an impact as quickly as possible.
Thank you. Mr. Yamane?
Mr. Wong, you mentioned your first statement about the 1,000 units as of fiscal year 2025 in June will at least start grading, grubbing, breaking ground, vertical.
Yes, Commissioner.
And then Mr. Lee mentioned, is this because of you? Are you talking about the 1,000 units or was that just a report?
The 1,000 units, sir. Because there's other units out there that we have no say on. For example, let's say HHFTC or these small 10 acres that we don't touch at all, or even in-house local landfills that we cannot touch because it's already urbanized. Land use never touched them. So these are 1,000 that land use has touched.
Okay, and then what can you say where the 500 are in Kauai? Or they're I mean, if they're in construction, are they still going to be in front of the land use?
No.
So can you
So
be more
for
detail on
example, one on Kauai is Oʻahu Ridge, and that's sorry, I'm not a Kauai person, but you know where Safeway Costco is?
Yeah.
Above that highway, there's a parcel there that has a school or church. It's right next door. And
Okay.
it's gonna be 100% affordable.
Okay, thanks. And what does GCA stand for?
General Contractors Association.
Thank you. No more
Sorry.
questions, Mr. Chair.
Commissioners,
Chair,
Commissioner Carr Smith.
thank you. I wanted to know what GCA was as well. And then you also mentioned a document that has all the permits listed per county.
Yeah, what happened was there's a list in the county that shows all these projects that they're working on and in the permit process and or what they've been, like planning and permitting. What I'm doing is try to cross-reference those and see where it matches with our land use projects.
So you're picking land use projects, or you're picking projects that did have timeframes,
Well, some of them
and
are.
you're checking to see whether they're within their timeframes? Is that how you're picking these particular projects?
Yes, and then some of them we're doing just because, for example, we hear it in the news. It's in the news for something. So we say, hey, let's look into this project to make sure if it's a LUC or non-LUC.
That's. Okay, so before Arnold starts to work on a project, we discuss it. And what Arnold has actually done is taken projects that, from those lists that are, projects that we have approved. And once we've distilled those out, then it's not so much that we're looking for projects with timeframes. We're looking for projects that we can't explain why they're not moving. And then Arnold then goes and talks to the developers to find out whether there's something that we can help them with. We're not looking for projects that are violated their timeframes and to bring them back here for, scoldings. We're looking for projects that might be held up for a year or two beyond what you'd expect, just because of things like HAIMA or DOT or things like that. We're just trying to break log jams.
And can you speak more to what did you run into on Hawaii Island that made it so that nothing was able to be produced there that at this time?
One project that that is interesting, and I'm still trying to find out something, is there's one that's change of ownership 3 times. And I'm still trying to find out who's that final owner. So I'm, have to go through DCCA and all that and see who's the owners, so it's not like it's going to be their Google. You have to, search down. So that's one thing. And another thing is cost of infrastructure. Like everyone else talks about, infrastructure has been going up like crazy.
Commissioner Lee.
Thank you, Chair. For the executive officer, maybe it's not the primary activity of this, but when you do find projects that are behind and, would that show up on their status reports if they do them?
Theoretically, yes. I mean, if we get a status report that basically says we haven't done anything, and this is actually not Arnold's area, this is Martina's area, and the deadlines are coming up, we usually schedule them for a status review so that the commission can decide how they want to handle it.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, if projects are behind and, and you find that out as a byproduct of Arnold's activity, it would be good to follow up on that as your course of business.
Yeah, that's a regular course of business for us, and that's why we schedule status reports, is when we find one of those projects that's just not making any headway and not meeting its deadlines, to find out whether they intend to meet them, so this commission can decide whether or not they want to continue to cut them slack or whatever.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I just have one I don't know if it's a rhetorical question or whatever, but my sense is that when we have a decision in order for a project, we learn that the enforcement of those conditions in large part is that of the county. So I just want to clarify that you're not doing enforcement, you're doing facilitation,
Yes,
which
sir.
is different.
That is
So
correct.
you're not looking for where they have either violated or in some way ignored a condition. You're trying to find out, I'm putting words in your mouth, but are you trying to find out what you can do to facilitate so that they can move forward, which is different than enforcement? Is that correct?
That is correct, sir. And we're trying to be the assistants, not a policeman, but someone to say, hey, let us help you, let's assist and facilitate.
Chair, I got a comment.
Commissioner Kahele?
55 years this project's been out there on the shelf. And how many other projects that we have out there that's sitting in the cabinets or on the shelf that potentially has an opportunity to move forward and finally, hopefully bring to closure?
Commissioner, that's a good question. Right now, we've looked, there's approximately 40 to 65,000 units in general that hasn't been built throughout the years. And we're just, it's like a big iceberg. We're just trying to chip away and get as much as we can just for the people of Hawaii.
Thank you, Arnold. Good job.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner. Sorry.
Commissioner Lee?
Thank you, Chair. So Arnold, since you're providing such a valuable service to these developers, we hope you don't get hired away. And I know you can't get paid a finder's fee, but maybe that's some way of encouraging them. And I don't know why these guys aren't doing this themselves, but if you're doing all this, then it sounds like a valuable service.
Thank you, Commissioner. And to me, it's a helpful service that it's for the people of Hawaii. It's for my sons and our grandkids, and our friends. So it's a worthwhile endeavor.
So I have a question that follows on what Commissioner Lee brought up. So in general, don't speak to any specific developer, but in general, if a developer is delayed, you're unclogging the log jams, right? To get a project going forward. What does why aren't the developers trying to unclog their own projects? What are you finding that causes a developer to just put it on the shelf instead of trying to work a solution to the problem?
Mr. Chair, if I can speak to that, having been a consultant for developers, is that developers very often take a shotgun approach. They put 5 projects out there and hope that one of them is going to move. If a project gets delayed and the other projects are moving, they just walk away from the one and start to work on the other one. They always take the path of least resistance. And one of the reasons that we felt Arnold was important is because Arnold creates a path of least resistance. So that developers will look back at a project and say, oh, that problem's gone. Why don't we just build it? Instead of focusing on the other projects that they're working on.
Yeah. Okay. Commissioner Scarsmith?
Thank you. Just one last question. Arnold's job is obviously different than the rest of the staff. And so I'm just curious what's the plan forward? What are your goals and how do you, at what point are you going to have figured out how to assist any of these developers, and then what's next? What else do you plan to do?
Well, because of my age, I was hoping this will be my last job and retire and have fun golfing. The other thing is
Not the answer I was looking for.
I can answer that. Commissioner. There's a lot of work to do. I mean, as we mentioned, there's 65,000 units out there. It will take years for us to move through all of those projects and make a determination on whether or not we can be of any value to the developers. And as Arnold has stated, he's not the youngest guy in the whole world. But once we've completed that analysis and we've determined that there's nothing else that we can do, then we'll probably let the position go. But that's going to be years. I mean, we've got a lot of projects that are moving.
Sorry, I lied. One more. And it's not necessarily for Arnold, but I'm starting to understand what everybody does here. So am I to understand that Martina does the status reports and annual filings as well as staff reports? It's not that simple, but I think
Yeah,
it's good
no,
for us to know who
yeah.
does what.
Right now, we're all doing everything except for Arnold, because we're one planner short. So Martina's doing 2 jobs, Ariana's doing 2 jobs, Scott's doing 2 jobs. You know, we spread out the workload so that the planner who has the most time can handle the staff reports. And Martina was originally tasked with looking at the annual report, so they kind of default to her. But she's also doing Planner 5 work, and we've temporarily assigned her into the Planner 5 position. But we are short of planners, so we're just kind of trying to handle the workload as best we can.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wong.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you,
Hang on a
Commissioner.
second. We might have more public testimony. Ms. Kwan, is there anybody who wants to testify or this?
Seeing none for this agenda item.
Okay. So thank you, Mr. Wong, and
Thank
thank
you.
you for the work you do.
Thank you.
So the next agenda items, first of 14, has to do with proposed bills before the 2025 legislature. So I'm going to go back half a step to our last meeting in which we decided upon how we were going to proceed with testimony from the staff and the commission in this current legislative session. So, so this is the way I'd like to proceed, but I would welcome any comments or questions on it. So we have 14 separate agenda items, and we'll take them one at a time. But on the first one, we're going to spend a little more time because I'm going to do 2 things. First of all, the executive staff has received a memo from DBED director guiding them on testimony. So I want, just in terms of full disclosure, I'd like the commission to be fully informed of what that direction is. And so I'll be asking the executive director to read that memo for the record for all commissioners, and commissioners could ask questions about it. But that memo will apply to not only the next agenda item, but all the next 14 agenda items. And then secondly, I'd like to just review for everybody what our decision and order was, what our decision was at our last meeting. So Commissioner Miyasato had moved to adopt the Office of Information Practices Sunshine Law options to address state legislative issues and measures. And we chose what we referred to as option 1A, which was a delegation to the staff and the executive officer to prepare and provide testimony on behalf of the commission, with the caveat that the staff does not have to take a position, but provide comments in regards to how the bill affects the commission. unless the commission adopts a specific position on a specific bill. Commissioner Hayashida seconded the motion and the motion passed with 6 ayes and 3 nays. So in effect, we will be reviewing, this is the process that I want to go forward with on a bill by bill basis. So first of all, the staff identified a number of bills for our consideration, and some of the commissioners added to that list. And so that's why we ended up with 14 separate bills that perhaps have some relevance to the Land Use Commission that are active in the current legislature. For each of these, we will ask if there's any public testimony on these bills. Secondly, we will ask staff to provide a brief summary of the bill for the commissioner and their recommendations regarding whether there's concerns or whether they recommend that we provide any testimony or that we take any specific position. After we understand where the staff is coming from, the commission can then decide whether it wants to take a position or not. If it takes no position, I think that means, for the way I interpret it, that we're going to provide no testimony. So if we take a position, the executive officer can prepare testimony consistent with that and present it on our behalf. If we do not take a position, there'll be no testimony. And as you'll hear from the directive from the DBED director, we will only consider, when we do testify, offering comments or offering support. We will not be offering opposition to bills. So before we go forward with the reading of those two, that memo, does anybody have any questions on the process that I just described? Commissioner Lee.
Thank you, Chair. So just to clarify, the directive is not to offer opposition on any bills?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
I think we'll hear more about that. Okay.
Testing you.
Testing me. Okay. So this is agenda item regarding the 2025 legislative session and proposed bills. So I will also be taking, if there is public testimony, it's going to be on a bill by bill basis. I don't want to take testimony on the first bill that might apply to something we're going to consider even tomorrow, right? Ms. Kwan? So when we ask for public testimony, it'll be specific to a bill that's before us, right? So the first one is a decision by the commission's position regarding.
Chair, do we want to recognize written testimony on all of them first?
Yep. Well, no, not all of them, one by one.
The written one.
So we'll cross that bridge I'll show you how I'm doing. So the first order of business on this legislative session has to do with our position on Senate Bill 28. Okay. So now I will recognize if there's any written testimony on Senate Bill 28, then I'll ask for public testimony, then I'll ask for staff to summarize, then I'll ask for commissioners' comments, then we'll open the door for public comment again, and then finally the commission will make a motion or not for a position on that bill.
For written testimony, I'm going to need a recess to review it all because all the bills are different testimony and I got to tally up.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I would suggest with regard to the written testimony, after having reviewed it all, that we just recognize it because most of the written testimony covers more than one bill.
Okay, and it's all been published on the website?
Yes, it has.
Okay, so we'll take the written testimony as an aggregate. Commissioners, are you okay with that? Actually,
Chair, I'm kind of confused because in past meetings, I mean, and by the way, thank you for providing these last minute testimonies. Whenever possible, we should get as much testimony as possible. I know in the past though, if it was one day before, you didn't even have time to check them. So I'm glad you're providing them. So in the future, if we can have as much testimony, even if late, as possible. But I don't understand. I mean, written testimony is written testimony. We just read it, if we can. If we can't, we can't. But I don't know why we have to have staff summarize it.
No, we're not asking staff to summarize it. They're gonna
So-
summarize their position in the matter. I'm just asking if there is written testimony.
Right, but that's why I'm glad for you clarified that, because it sounded like staff was being asked to,
Summarize written?
yeah.
No,
Okay,
so
thanks.
if there's written testimony that's been received, I want to verify it's been posted so we can read it if we choose. That's consistent, right? And I'm going to acknowledge all the written testimony for all of the bills. Right. But if there's oral testimony, it will be on a bill by bill basis.
Mr. Chair, I just had a point clarification
Sure.
question.
Commissioner Yamane.
I just want to clarify between written testimony for an agenda item and written testimony for bills. What are we talking about? We're not talking about.
We received, okay, to be precise, we received a, should I use the word plethora of written testimony with regard to our proposed agenda or our agenda items that reference specific bills. Most of that testimony was either, well, there was some of it that was a couple in support or recommending that we support certain bills, and there was a lot of testimony recommending that we do not support certain bills. Most of that testimony was all jumbled up. It didn't talk just about one bill that they wanted us to support or to not support. They weren't submitting testimony on the bills specifically as they would to the legislature. They're submitting testimony urging us not to support or to support certain measures.
Thank you. That just wanted to clear that up. Thanks.
I'm sure it's very clear in everybody's mind now.
Chair,
Where is this
Oh.
coming from? Commissioner Carsmith.
thank you. You mentioned a letter from the director, DBET director, and I thought you said you were going to read that.
We are
When does that happen?
next.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's come to my attention. But first of all, I want to get the public testimony out of the way. So is there anybody that has indicated they want to present oral testimony on Senate Bill 28?
Well, first, I'm going to acknowledge the written testimony. For the agenda items, we received one on February 3rd, one on February 4th, and 44 this morning as of 9 a.m. After 9 a.m., I was unavailable to check if we received additional written testimony.
So these,
On
and these
various-
46 testimonies have been posted.
All 46 before 9 a.m. have been posted to the website on the agenda and minutes page.
Thank you so much. Okay, now, is there anybody wishing to do oral testimony on Senate Bill 28?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have 3 written up through the Q&A feature. The first one who would like to speak on agenda item 6 is Stephen Lee Montgomery. I will promote him now. Mr. Montgomery, can you do a mic check and a video check? Mr. Montgomery, can you hear me?
Let's go on. Let's go to number 2.
Okay, I'm going to move on to number 2, which is Wayne Tanaka, and we'll come back to Stephen Montgomery after.
Who's that? Let's go with Mr. Montgomery. Mr. Montgomery, can you please state your name and your address?
Sir, you're muted.
Okay, I think we did.
A long day. What are you gonna do?
Okay, we're
Can you hear
trying.
me?
We're
Okay, we can see and
trying.
hear you.
Yes, I hear you. Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, we hear you now, Mr. Montgomery. Please state your full name and your address.
Thank you. I'm Stephen Lee Montgomery, and I live at 94-6. I've had the privilege to serve 5 busy years as a member of the Land Use Commission after an appointment by Governor Cayetano, well before Zoom Tech allowed these hybrid meetings.
Hold up. Just, all I want your name right now. So do you swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes, I do.
So please proceed. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I served years as a member of the commission, well before Zoom, and having lived since 1988 on former Oʻahu sugar ag land in an affordable home built by the Harita Company in Upper Waipahu, I have an urgent response to the veiled proposal in SB 28 because it could permit as few as 3 of the commission's 9 members to approve a redistricting. I cannot recall any housing docket, a component of affordable housing, that failed to earn 6 votes and approval. In fact, when Alexander and Baldwin asked to urbanize ag land for shops near the Maui's airport, the chairman, Clarence Ng, convinced the applicant to add an affordable housing section. In Kohala, we on the commission voted to extend by many years the time and amount of for the Aina Lea LLC to finish building 385 affordable housing units agreed upon. This bill implies that the LUC has disapproved affordable housing dockets, but gives no evidence in its preamble. Please defend the Land Use Commission's record of diligent and strong work to support housing. Please continue to ask questions for the record to ensure land use changes protect Hawaiian cultural practitioners and citizens nearby. The county general plan process is no substitute for LUC in finding the best balance between varied public interests. I can recall sad cases of neighbors with a provincial so-called NIMBY view having intimidated elected county council members who blocked vital affordable housing plans for Kailua. As you consider the positions on this and the other 11 bills, please do protect food security, public trust resources, climate resilience, affordable housing, and the LUC fact finding that entails a rigorous, detailed, and an objective balance between public interests. In conclusion, please oppose this bill in particular. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Montgomery. Please stand by for questions from the commissioners. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Montgomery? Seeing none. Mr. Montgomery, thank you for your time today. We appreciate your testimony.
You're welcome.
Ms. Kwan, who is next?
I'm going to promote Wayne Tanaka.
Thank you.
Mr. Tanaka, can you give me a mic check?
Testing.
Thank Mr. Tanaka. Please state your name and address, and then I'll swear you in.
Wayne Tanaka, 46271 Kahuhipa Street, Kaneohe 96744.
Thank you. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please proceed. You have 2 minutes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. And thank you everyone on the commission for having this conversation. I also want to give staff a ton of credit. It sounds like they had a lot of last minute scrambling to do with all the testimonies they've received. I'm speaking to agenda item 6, but also generally about your positions on some of the measures before you today. I just want to know that you've all agreed to administer land use laws to uphold our constitution. I believe you've all taken training courses by commission staff, by the law school regarding some of your obligations and the ways in which you fulfill them as a land use commission. But I do want to express a bit of concern about comments in previous meetings suggesting that the land use commission try to say modify basic Supreme Court precedent with respect to Native Hawaiian constitutional rights. There have been comments made that seem to favor reducing your very critical responsibility to make sure that we make the best use of our limited lands, right? And not just for folks here today, but for our kids and grandkids. Just like land use decisions from 30, 40 years ago continue to impact us for better or worse, the decisions you make will impact our landscape and our community and ability really to survive here in islands for decades into the future. And so housing is important, but so is food security, so are Native Hawaiian rights, so is climate resilience, affordable housing for all income levels, for job creation. And that's what you're here to do, and that's what we really depend on you to do. And so to be honest, just to summarize, I think it'd be inappropriate to walk back on some of the commitments you've made by some more supporting measures, like this measure, like other bills on the agenda that would, like the previous testifier mentioned, try to substitute your rigorous fact-finding process and balancing of interests without the counties, which, as I understand, in practice is much less rigorous, is much less transparent and clear about how their decisions are being made. And so happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I just urge a lot of caution, reflection before you endorse, the measure under this agenda item and in agenda items 7 through 11 and 13. And thank you so much.
Thank you for your testimony. I have to ask you to remain for any questions from commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Tanaka. Appreciate you taking the time today.
Thank you.
Who's the next one, Ms. Kwan?
The next one signed up is Healani. I will promote her now. Hey, Alani, can I get a mic check and video?
Sure. Aloha. My name is Helani Sonora Pale.
Ms. Sonoda Kalei, could you, just to remind you, you're still under oath from your previous testimony earlier today. So agenda item now is Senate Bill 28. So please proceed with any comments you have. You have 2 minutes.
Sure. So aloha. Kalahui is deeply concerned with the future of our aina and the well-being of our people in generations to come. We urge you to uphold your statutory responsibilities and maintain your critical role in safeguarding the public interest in major land use decisions. Now more than ever, the Land Use Commission must stand firm in its kuleana and ensure that Hawaii's lands are stewarded with care, foresight, and respect for the needs of its own people. The Land Use Commission's founding purpose, the Land Use Commission was established in 1961 in response to growing concerns over unchecked development, loss of agricultural lands, and haphazard urban sprawl. Before its creation, land use decisions were left solely to individual counties, which often prioritize short-term economic gains over long-term environmental and cultural sustainability. Your purpose, you were created to prevent uncontrolled development that threatens Hawaii's natural cultural resources, ensure responsible land management by classifying lands in the 4 districts, upholding public trust responsibilities, including water resources, preserving Kanaka Maoli traditional and customary rights, and safeguarding food security, and hold large-scale development accountable by requiring rigorous review processes before district boundary changes. For over 6 decades, the LUC has served as a critical safeguard against reckless land use decisions, standing as a check against speculative development and ensuring that Hawaii's precious land is being used wisely. The LUC's support of the bills that are listed, including the bill that we're currently on, I think it's HB 28. Directly, it contradicts your founding purpose and mission. Instead of fulfilling your kuleana to protect land and people, the commission is now entertaining legislation that prioritizes developers, weakens your own your own powers, and weakens public oversight, and threatens the long-term sustainability of our islands. And I just want to remind you, we are in a water crisis, that we are in a climate crisis, and we're in unprecedented times. Look at what happened with
Thank
the
you.
fires.
I have to ask you to conclude your remarks.
Yes. So we strongly oppose Senate Bill 28 and all the other bills following this bill. But we will testify on the other bills as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for this witness? Thank you very much for coming forward. Ms. Kwan, do we have anything else on the Zoom?
Seeing none in the Q&A feature, Chair.
Do we have anybody in the room that wants to testify?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so I'm now going to call on staff who has reviewed this bill and ask for the staff to summarize it and offer any recommendations. Before I do that, I'd like you to read for our fellow commissioners the memo you received from the from the director of DBED.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We received a reminder on the guidance and parameters for testifying on non-administrative measures from the director's office. It states that it is important that our testimony aligns with DBED's framework, avoids conflicting or duplicating positions, and reflects fiscal restraints. Key areas of focus: informational briefings provide updates as needed, ensuring consistency with DBED's strategic priorities. Administrative bills prioritize support for key DBED initiatives as outlined in the economic landscape presentation, which this commission was not privy to. Non-administrative bills. Generally, testimony should be comments only unless specifically requested by the committee chair or introducer. Preparing testimony. Align with DBED's framework. Testimony should not duplicate or conflict with DBED's strategic priorities. Focus on program priorities. Testimony should emphasize the impact on existing DBED programs and resources. Reorganization bills. These measures may delay progress due to administrative restructuring. Testimony should reflect the potential impacts. New programs. Consider whether the proposed changes improve service delivery and effectiveness. Non-administrative appropriations. Use boilerplate language stating that funding requests do not impact administrative budget priorities. Bills assigning DBDT implementation. Some measures may not be well defined and could assign responsibility for DBED without clear alignment. The agency or program best suited to lead will be determined based on the bill's purpose. Please ensure that testimony is reviewed for alignment and consistency before submission. If there are any questions regarding DBED's position, reach out before finalizing testimony.
What does that mean?
In a nutshell, we don't know. What it means is that with regard for informational briefings, which the commission is not concerned with, we're just supposed to provide the information as needed. With regard to administrative bills that support DBED's initiatives, we're supposed to provide support. For non-administrative bills, we can't oppose a bill, but we can provide comments. So if there is something in the bill that is fixable or inherently wrong, we can provide comments on that, but we're not supposed to submit testimony that says we oppose HB number or SB number, whatever.
Commissioners, any questions or comments on this directive?
May
Mr.
we have a
Carson?
copy of that, please?
Yes, we can post that to the website.
Okay.
Mr. Lee?
Yeah, thank you for expounding on that. So is this different from previous guidance?
No, this is consistent with this administration's guidance with regard to testimony. Isn't it?
Sounds like Mayor Alice.
What do you mean by previous, Commissioner Lee? You mean previous
Well, because I recall that last year and previous years, there was testimony in opposition to bills. So I'm just asking for clarification. And it sounds like Madam Director has some comment.
Once I gotta swear you in, Mary Alice. Mary Alice, please state your and affiliation and
Mary Alice Evans, Director of the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development.
do you swear your testimony will be the truth?
I do.
Can you add clarification in response to Commissioner Lee's question?
Yes. Those directives apply to DBED staff and to DBED attached agencies where staff is delegated to provide testimony. Chapter 2635 gives boards and commissions the ability to have policy autonomy outside of the policy directives of a head of a department to which the board or commission is administratively attached. So, I'm not an attorney, and you should confer with your own DAG, but it is my understanding over many decades that boards and commissions can take positions if it's a policy matter that is germane to your enabling statute.
Thank you. Any question or comment on that, Mr. Coordinator?
Yeah, to answer Commissioner Lee's question directly, yes, there have been times when agencies have submitted testimony in opposition, but that has to be cleared through the director first before we can do that.
What do you mean by cleared?
In other words, we have to make our case to the director as to why we need to oppose a measure rather than just submit comments.
And you need a formal approval from the
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to understand our powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities. I believe that's section HRS 92-5A4.
Second.
Certainly. So moved by Commissioner Lee to go in executive session, seconded by Commissioner Carr Smith to confer with our Deputy Attorney General. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Ms. Kwan, can you arrange for executive session? We'll take a recess while you do that, and you let me know when you're ready. Thank you. Okay, it's 12:20. We're back on the record in regular session. So we had adjourned for executive session for questions of the legal nature with our Deputy Attorney General, and they pertain to guidance we received in terms of the positions that the commission independently can make, both whether they be in favor or in opposition or questions. We are independent of, and basically we're an independent commission and we can take such. Ms. Steed, did I represent that correctly? Thank you. So now we'll proceed. I will get to that. Mr. Miyasato, do you have any question?
Yeah, I do, Chair. Thank you. Yeah, I received a phone call during the break. Yeah, the reason I'm not there is I'm covering for some friends that went to a convention. And I got a phone call that there's a broken water line. I'm trying to get someone else to address it. But if they don't get back to me, I may have to leave in an hour.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the, just give us a heads up and we'll proceed accordingly.
Okay, thank you.
We've also learned that Commissioner Wu will be able to stay with us till 4 o'clock. So I think we'll have a full quorum in any event, even if you have to leave. And Commissioner Yamane decides to leave and Commissioner Kamakeo Halo is not present. So we have 7 or 6 under all circumstances. So thank you. Okay, at this time, I'd like to call on the commission staff. Mr. Orendenker, would you please provide us a brief summary of SB 28 at any analysis that you want to share and also any recommendations you have regarding testimony?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. SB 28 amends Chapter 205 to provide that a simple majority of affirmative votes of the members present and qualified to vote on the Land Use Commission shall be necessary for any boundary amendment up until or presently it takes 6 affirmative votes. Staff has concerns consistent with some of the public testimony that we heard that it would result in some situations where only 3 commissioners could approve a district boundary amendment. District boundary amendments when Chapter 205 was originally promulgated were considered to be significant. And that is why a supermajority was authorized or was required for a district boundary amendment to occur. I would note that it's never been in a situation where there's been a 3-2 or 3-3 vote on the district boundary amendment. But the other concern that staff has is that important agricultural lands apply to this change in the provision. Important agricultural lands would still require 6 affirmative votes, and it's not uncommon for us to get district boundary amendments where we have a mix of regular agricultural land and important agricultural lands. Our recommendation is that you provide testimony is simply stating that we don't feel that this is necessary. But it is the commission's prerogative.
So you're recommending testimony that's not necessary. Why? I mean, does it go back to these concerns about a super that only 3 votes might result in a DBA?
Well, yeah, and you know, it was pointed out by one of the public testifiers that it doesn't seem to be any basis for this. I mean, there's nothing, no evidence or any experience that would suggest that this would result in more DBAs being granted.
So basically you're recommending comment, not support or opposition. Is that correct?
I think our comment would be that it's not necessary.
Comment is that it's not necessary. Okay, commissioners? Commissioner Lee.
Sure, thank you. I want to note that this bill has been introduced before, and it's introduced now by the chair and the vice chair of the Senate Housing Committee. And the vice chair used to be the chair of the House side as well. And I'm not sure I agree that it's not necessary. I mean, I don't agree that it should be 3 people making this decision when deck rulings and other decisions by this body are done by a simple majority of 5. So I guess I want to hear why the DBA should be 6 when other decisions are 5 from the executive officer.
Well, as I previously mentioned, it's always been the position of the legislature, prior to this, because things can change, that district boundary amendments are significant and they require a large amount of discussion, and there are many issues that are of concern whenever there's a district boundary amendment presented, and that they should be contemplated fully, and there should be a majority of, a supermajority of the commission rendering that decision when it's going to have such a large impact on cultural gathering rights, the environment, state expenditures, and all of the other factors that are in our rules that we were expressed as issues that were of concern to us.
Okay, thanks. Well, you stated earlier that there hasn't been a case when there's been 5, so and that it didn't make a difference. So why not 5 then?
I don't have an answer to that. As like I said, I don't think this is necessary. We've never had a problem and it's never slowed down anything.
So just a point of clarification, please, on the bill as drafted. Does it state a simple majority of a quorum, or does it state 5?
It says a simple majority of the members present. Its quorum would be 5. So 3 could theoretically grant the DBA.
Right. It's not the question of moving 6 to 5 is not articulated in the draft.
So, no, it is not. So if we were going to submit testimony, our testimony would say, well, our comments are that a simple majority of the members present is excessive. We would be okay if it was 5.
Chair, I'd like to follow up,
Commissioner Lee.
Yeah, I think as written, I would be opposed to 3 people voting, because that's even less than, any other decision. But
That's the way it's drafted.
yes, that's the way it's drafted. That's how I read it. But I want to see how everyone else feels about providing input that 5 might be more acceptable. I mean, I don't know how everyone else feels. I would be okay with 5, but I'd be interested to see if we could provide testimony that no, 3 is too little, but 5 might be more acceptable versus just opposing this bill altogether. So, I mean, I'm not ready to make a motion yet, but, I'd like to hear what everyone else's thoughts are on 5.
Anybody else have a thought?
I want to make a comment.
Commissioner, go ahead.
Yeah, so right now, there's no scheduled hearing, right, for this bill.
No, there
See
is
it?
not. No.
Yeah, there's no scheduled hearing. So we're gonna take the position as, it's not necessary. Why don't we take a position as commissioners or as the head of land use, and either we're up or down. I don't believe we should be taking a vote with just a majority of the people that's present at the meeting, because like Brian just mentioned and Dan just mentioned, we had 3 people here at the meeting that they're gonna decide whether they're gonna be approving the district boundary amendment. So anyway, Brian is recommending that we, instead of 6 affirmative votes, make an amendment to the current bill for 5. Whatever the decision is gonna be made, I think we should make a decision and just stay somewhat neutral. Anyway, that's my take.
So Commissioner Kaeli, if I understand you correctly, you're recommending that we consider taking a position on the bill as drafted, as opposed to getting into wordsmithing the bill itself.
Yes.
Okay, I agree with that personally. But commissioners, Commissioner Wu?
Yeah, I like to share my mind. I heard that the position could be worst, worst case scenario that three people could vote or decide on the approval of a DBA, but at the same time, three people could deny it. So, you know, this is how I look at it. I look at it as, you know, as Hawaiian. I don't need to go out there and state the obvious sometimes, like food security, Hawaiian traditional practices. I don't need to. It's ingrained in us at birth. So people try to say it all the time at times. I don't know why. And I get it. But the part is, it's instilled at a young age. It's instilled way before my time. So when people mistakenly say, "Oh, you're not for the environment," I'm like, dude, I was ingrained. I was embedded. I was indebted. We came here by canoe. And so the part is, the issue is, when 6% of land on Maui is designated urban, now we got a problem. That's the issue. That's the biggest issue right here. I mean, we protected it so good. Right? I don't know what the percentage is ag. I think 55% is ag, 40% is what have you. I'm saying is, it seems to me, when I look at these bills that we value, there is a breakdown somewhere for housing. If we just take all this we're looking at, the breakdown is there's not enough. There's out migration of all people, my people. And, if this helps move the needle to keep all people home, I think more importantly, bring them back, because people are always coming, but not necessarily coming back. And my goal is to have them to come back. So, and when I hear people say, like, you know, it's not proving that it's needed. Well, it's not proving it's not needed also. So I'm okay with this as proposed. And I always look at it this way, if it moves the needle, if we all look at, let me rewind. I think some of the decisions made over the course of the years to have a lack of homes statewide, I think everyone got to take some responsibility on it, right? And as we say, Laulima, many hands. And I know some people see it as it's not our kuleana, and maybe it's not. I think it's mine. So I would support the bill as written. That's my 2 cents. But then again, I will support whatever the body decides to support. And that's why I always like to see that grant. Like I like when I hear people say certain things, because it makes me think about what my thought process would be. But that's why we collaborate with the 9 members. But just have this one say at the end. I suppose I leave her too, because of other obligations. Mr. Yamani has other obligations. Mel has to go. And we just heard that Miles might have to leave. I have faith if I left that people could do a good job without me. I have absolute faith in that. It's not my, I just say it's hard to find people to serve. Maui County has 70-something vacancies on boards and commissions, and it holds up a lot of things. So the part is, like, I wouldn't use the word arrogant, but I would say I'd be okay that I trust in people to make decisions if I'm not there. So that's my mana'o. I would support it as written. But then again, that's mine, 1 of 9. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
If I may, Chair,
Commissioner, go ahead.
I agree with Mr. Wu. Not in agreement on how the bill is written. We got a problem with jobs. We got a problem with the cost of living. We got a problem with housing, affordable housing. We average 15,000 of our native Hawaiians or citizens that live in Hawaii that's moving up to the mainland. Why? We priced out of paradise. If we agree to allow 3 people on this board to make a decision on who's going to be coming in and requesting for a district boundary amendment that's not looking at building affordable homes, then we might be in trouble because everybody's looking at money. All these developers come in here, except for the people that's requesting for 201 each status in building affordable homes. We might be in big trouble if we get the wrong people sitting on this commission. And right now we got good people here. We get the wrong people sitting here. making decisions on who's gonna be able to get this district boundary amendments and building pricey homes. It's gonna push more of our families up to the mainland, and I got grandsons, I got granddaughters that moved up to the mainland because they don't can survive here. So anyway, I just wanted to make that comment. I am not for this bill, and I think we should just keep it status quo and only for the best interests of our native Hawaiians and the people that's currently living here, with Hawaiians, Orientals, Caucasians. This is our island. This is our state. We've been priced out of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I just got one clarifying question for staff. Do you recall a DBA that failed because it didn't get 6 votes, it only got 5 in history?
Had one or two, but it was before my time. So I don't know. Maybe Scott can recall.
Scott?
Staff needs a recess. The audio's muffled. I need to unplug and replug.
Okay, let's take a very brief 3-minute recess. It's 12:37.
Thank you.
So I had a question on the table. We're going to come back in session. I've got 12:39 back in session. Is recording working now? Thank you. The question on the table to staff was any history you can share with us where 3, 4, 5, 6 votes were of significance in consideration of a DBA in recent history. I mean, what's driving this thing?
This is Scott Derrickson, Chief Planner. I can't tell you what's driving this bill because I don't think that it's supported by any evidence. It's not solving a problem. But to answer your question specifically, I believe in the last 15 years, there has been at least one incidence where something hasn't been approved because of 5 votes. But again, it's rare. And usually what happens is a petitioner reads the room and recognizes that a project doesn't appear to have garnered enough votes to approve. And in some cases, they've withdrawn the petition. In some cases, they've asked more time to go back, make some changes, and come back in. The approval rate of the commission historically is 95+%. There's been hardly any times when the commission has denied a petition.
Thank you. Commissioners, any other questions? Commissioner Carr-Smith.
Thank you. I think we should keep that in perspective because I know for Hawaii Island, it's been a good 10 years since there was a DBA at all. So, I mean, I think we're also looking at this bill with the worst case scenario. And I'm not sure that, who knows what the intention was, but I'm not sure that we should necessarily look at it that way. Maybe members present should not be in there. Maybe it should be quorum, but then that's still a low amount. And I understand the concern about the low amount. But yet we need to be able to get things done. And if we look at all these bills on our list, several of them speak to DBAs. And I think there's a reason why counties are wanting to take more control over DBAs. And that may be because it's challenging for people to get through us. So I think that the 6 votes goes back a long ways. I think that times have changed. And I think it's reasonable for us to consider taking the opportunity to say, maybe it should be 5 now, along with everything else.
Sure.
Commissioner Wu.
Yeah, and you know, my belief is that you know, if there's ever a point in time when we get too much affordable housing, let's stop it. But it's not going to be during my lifetime. But I would agree with Commissioner Carr Smith that you know, I think most people here served on boards prior. So even though we can go back and your history books and look at any time where the votes was that close. I said on planning commission, I think that's kind of important. It's within the SMA area. We had 5-4 a few times that I can think off the top of my head. And so I'll be okay with that. It's the majority, not the super majority. I'll be fine with that in implementing something like that. So that would work for me.
Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to say that if you look at some of the other bills that we're going to consider today, they want to take the state LUC completely out of any vote whatsoever. So it'd be like 0 votes to approve a project. It would just be decided on the county level. I'm okay with doing something different and bold. You know, I don't think 3 is right, but I think 5 votes consistent with BEC rulings and other votes that we might have, I'm good with that. So I'll make a motion that
Wait a minute, I'm still in discussion phase before. I'll give you the opportunity to make a motion.
yeah, I see. This is an example of why we're not following sunshine law, because if we were, Robert's Rules of Orders, because if we were, I could make a motion anytime.
Okay, make a motion.
So I motion that we testify that the executive officer testifies that this commission would support DBA approval with 5 votes. Because I think the legislature wants to hear from us. We're the people who have been given the responsibility to look at these things. And I don't think 5 goes that far, because some of the other proposals are that we have 0 votes. And if people are self-censoring themselves, like Mr. Derrickson said, then I think that's a problem. If people are saying that I'm not even going to go because I don't think I can get 6 votes. 5 might be an easier hurdle. So
Can I ask if you would accept a friendly amendment that you would support, this commission support a DBA approval of 5 votes, provided it doesn't include IAL?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And for those who might even have heartburn with that, we could even put a sunset date on it, say 5 years. You know, it's up for consideration. I'll add that in just to give everyone extra caution that this is not something that we feel so strongly about that we're just going to throw everything to the wind, but that there should be a window where we try this out and see what happens. So
isn't it up to the legislature to bring a bill back to us?
No, you can amend the bill so that there's a sunset date. In fact, some of the other bills.
We're not the legislature. We're just
No.
offering comment.
Right, but that would be my recommendation, is that this is what we would support. 5 votes with a 5-year sunset date. So I made that motion, and I'm open to hearing if anyone will second or have any other comment, or maybe even amending my motion. Thank you.
You know, and you know, Brian, we can live with that. I believe we can live with the majority of 5. I just wasn't okay with the language that's currently written in the bill. And this car brought up a good point. We got plenty of projects out there that's kind of like stalled. We need to move them. But you know, we're just hoping to keep our fingers crossed that Waterland will schedule a hearing for the director to be able to and make an amendment to the current bill. And with that, no, Brian, I support your motion. I'll second it.
So let me offer us another friendly amendment. Would you accept a friendly amendment that says that we are not in support as written where under circumstances that three could carry.
Yes, I would support that.
Okay, do I have a second to that?
Second.
Friendly, okay. So, the
Chair?
motion is
Go
do you
ahead.
have an amendment to?
No, I don't know why we're adding in the important ag lines because it's not in here.
Because the executive director stated that some DBAs come forth where a portion of the parcel that's under consideration includes IAL, and IAL requires 6 explicitly,
Okay, I gotcha. Thank you.
correct? Okay. So the motion on the floor, if I understand correctly, is the following. This commission's position is one of that is in opposition to the bill as drafted, where under some circumstances, 3 votes of this commission could carry an approval of a DBA. However, we would support amendment that requires 5 votes at a minimum for an approval of a DBA, provided the petition did not include any portion of which IAL land.
And the 5-year sunset.
And if it does include IAL land, it would still require 6 votes. And furthermore, it would sunset in 5 years.
Well stated.
Thank you. Okay, commissioners, comments, concerns on this motion?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Yamani.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, I'll be abstaining from any voting on any legislative matters. And I just want to, and this is my perspective, understand the commission can choose to do something, cannot choose to do something. And I think I stated this in our previous meeting, that this is something that I personally don't want to be doing, is reviewing every bills and voting on what we should be putting on the bills. And like with all due respect to my commissioners, this is just my perspective. Being in the legislature for 20 years and knowing how it operates, I came into this position as a volunteer, knowing that this entity is a regulatory body that abides by whatever laws and statutes are created. And for example, this specific bill, let's say I am a commissioner, let's say hypothetically this bill passes as is this session, and I came in as a commissioner next year, I just have to abide by that law. So I'm not here as a commissioner to make policy changes on whether LUCA should exist or not. That's for the policymakers. What I volunteered for was to listen to petitioners, come in with their proposals on boundary amendments, and make decisions based on the laws and rules that govern that process. That was why I came into this position. And I think I said this the last time, is just, I think it's outside of this commission to be doing that. Of course, that's just my perspective. With all due respect to the rest of commissioners. And like a law, if this law passes against us, we just need to abide by it. If this commission chooses to go on this path where you're reviewing 14 bills on every meeting, then that's the way it is. I'll live by it, but I won't be voting for that. I'll be abstaining from any votes regarding any legislative matters going forward. So thank you, Mr. Chair. And with that, I'd like to be excused. I need to run.
Well, we're gonna, when we have a roll call vote, you want to stick around to abstain or? Okay. It's coming up pretty shortly. Commissioner Miyasato.
Thank you, Chair. I somewhat agree with Commissioner Yamani in a sense where I was sort of prepared to hear and make, hear what the staff had to say about the written bills. For my work, I've actually authored legislation and I'm retired now. So I feel the same way about kind of not really wanting to have to think about amending and writing and lobbying, and I have no problem reviewing what's important, things that impact land use. If it's detrimental, if it's helpful, and if staff feels, we really should give our opinion on the effects of it, whether positive or negative. I don't mind that. But I wasn't prepared to consider amending and authoring amendments, and so I'm kind of having a hard time supporting that. I would just rather have an opinion that this is gonna could impact us negatively, and just not really support or oppose, but just the negative effects of this bill. So that's just my opinion. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, any further? Commissioner Kahele, of
Can I ask a question?
course.
How would one vote, now it's 6, and we're gonna ask the director to go up there and make an amendment to the bill, if it gets heard. If it gets heard by Waterland and I believe the Judiciary Committee, how would one vote affect any of the decisions that we've made in the past by changing it from 6 to 5 votes?
I think that's the question I asked, and Mr. Derrickson said it might have affected one decision in the last 15 years.
Very good, thank you.
Is that correct? Mr. Derrickson?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Commissioner Wu?
Just a comment, and prior to not being on the LUC, I heard people saying that they don't want to even come before the LUC. And so with the potential of, I guess, giving a mana'o on changing the 6 to 5, maybe it'll be more inviting to people to put in the application towards the LUC, again, for potential homes for our people. So that's how I see it.
Thank you.
Chair, if I could comment.
Please. Mr. Rundaker.
I mean, staff will obviously do whatever this commission decides, but I need to make the point that we could submit testimony and the chairs of the various committees could just ignore it and we wouldn't get anywhere. It could also amount to them just not wanting to deal with it and not moving forward. So I think we have to be aware of that.
Thank you. Commissioner Lee.
Thank you, Chair. I respect what Commissioner Yamane said. For me, I don't want to keep blinders on. I think I'm going to stay in my lane, but if I see cars coming, I'm going to change my lane, and so that's my personal opinion. And
I don't know what you mean about changing lanes. Could you be more explicit?
Well, I think Commissioner in the past has said that what is our lane? Should we stay in our lane and not get involved in other things like policy? And we've been clearly told by multiple people that that's within our purview. I don't think when I serve here, for me personally, that now I can't opine on other things, especially when it's already been clearly stated to us that it's in our purview to do so, to express our view. And I think the legislators would be happy to hear what we think, since we do this, on a regular basis, what we think are some of the impediments or some of the good things about the Land Use Commission and its rules. So definitely the legislators can do whatever they want, but I think they would be interested to hear what the majority of this board thinks or advises. So I agree with Commissioner Uu that, we should express it, and if the legislators throw it away, that's fine. We've expressed our view, if we do have a united view on anything.
Mr. Carsmith.
I agree. It's an opportunity, in my opinion, and I personally feel that it is our responsibility to weigh in on these things. I came here to hopefully make a difference with some of the changing landscape. And I think it's totally our responsibility to weigh in. And since the director is asked to weigh in on these things, I think even more so that we need to do this. So I support the idea.
So, anybody else? Commissioner, you got your light on? Did you have anything further?
You know, I just want something clarified here, so whatever motion that was made, we're not gonna go up there until Waterland schedules a hearing. We're not gonna go up there prior to that and say, hey, you know what? This is what we want you to change in the current bill, right? I mean, is that what we're doing?
That's my understanding.
Okay,
It's
up until the time of the
testimony.
hearing. So if there's no hearing, there's no issue.
Well, I think that's the way it works.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So, I come to this position, serving on this board very much in the same vein as Commissioner Yamane. I want to make meaningful decisions about land use consistent with the statute and laws of Hawaii. I'm not interested in making laws. I'm interested in implementing them fairly and legally. I'm very concerned that going down this road, just like we've got, I have no confidence that 2 days is going to enable us to cover 14 bills sitting here in this room. And I have no interest personally in becoming a party to what looks to me to be a lobbying exercise. So I will agendize these bills because it has been requested, and that's why you see all 14 of these bills of interest and relevance agendized. But I don't think it's the best and highest use of the Land Use Commission to do what we're doing presently. So I could consider and would support a motion that's consistent with the recommendations of staff, or a recommendation to go an up or down vote on a bill as written. But I don't think it's within I cannot support time and energy in our province to rewrite legislation as a lobbyist might do. So that's where I'm coming from. So I haven't decided if I will abstain or if I will vote in opposition, but I don't want to get into this kind of business. So anything further, anybody? Mr. Undecker, please take a roll call vote on the motion.
The motion is as stated by the chair, and if I can paraphrase it, testify that on Senate Bill 28, that this commission would support a situation where 5 votes could approve a DVA, provided it doesn't include IAL lands for 5 years. But we're not in support, the commission is not in support of the bill as written. Commissioner Lee.
Yeah, I think that if we don't do anything, testimony will be given anyway and questions will be asked. So I'm gonna say aye on this, that they should hear it from us.
Commissioner Kahele.
You know, Chair, it's, you somewhat to a point, right, about, we shouldn't be getting involved in, but this is pertaining to the land use, and I seconded the motion, and hopefully we review the rest of the list of
Yeah, we're gonna
bills
go. We will.
that's gonna be heard, and if hopefully we can leave it up to the director and to the staff in deciding which way we should go on any of the bills. But since I seconded the motion, aye.
Commissioner Carr Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner.
I'm gonna abstain.
Abstain. Commissioner Kamakeo Hello is excused. Commissioner Uu,
Aye.
Commissioner Miyasato,
Abstain.
Commissioner Yamane,
Abstain.
Chair Giovanni.
Abstain.
Mr. Chair, we have a 4-4 vote,
We have 4 affirmative,
or abstain.
4 abstain. What does that mean? 4-0.
By operation of law, it fails.
Say again.
You need a
Scott
majority.
Derrickson, Chief Planner, by operation of law, if you don't receive at least five affirmative votes, the motion fails.
Is that correct? Okay, motion failed. See you later.
So what are the director's comments going to be on this bill?
That
We're still alive, so.
that if the bill is heard, we will submit testimony that the commission has not taken a position on this matter, but we are always present for technical, if they have technical questions with regard to the impacts of a bill.
This Commissioner Hayashida, I mean, you've heard testimony from our members, and I think like how Miles said, our responsibility is to tell the impacts to the commission of what this legislation may do. And I think you should be able to say what those impacts are. And you can see from the commission that there is movement to lessen the degree, but not to the extent that they want to do. And I think that's reasonable to respond, right? We're not telling them what to do. We're just telling them what our opinion is. And I think you've heard it from our discussions.
Yeah, I agree with what I think you intend to say there. You know, we had a recommendation from Mr. Orndenker and staff that there are issues with this bill as written. And I'm comfortable giving him the latitude to express those if, you know, during legislative hearing from his perspective. I don't think that's in opposition to any position this board has taken, this commission has taken. But before I close this agenda item, I would still, if the commissioner wants to make a different or a new motion, I would entertain that. Commissioner Lee?
Chair, I agree with everything that's been said. I'm okay, and I don't know if maybe I'll make a motion that we oppose the 3, but we support we oppose the 3 as written, but we support efforts to make it less difficult to approve. I don't know if anyone else would support that, but that might be something that maybe just the executive officer can just testify as being factual, that, you know, I don't think there was that much support.
Whenever we submit testimony, we always say we appreciate, or we recognize the intent of this bill as streamlining the process. However, we take no position, but we're here for comments. That would be the way I would write the testimony. Yeah, yeah.
No, I think that's fair.
No, I mean, it wouldn't be quite that short, but you know, the idea is we have never testified without saying we recognize the efforts of the legislature to streamline the process or whatever the proposal is there.
Let me correct myself. I think Commissioner Wu did support the 3, so I don't think you can say we all oppose the 3, but maybe if you did say that there was some robust discussion about it, and you know, we hear the concerns and that there's thoughts about streamlining that some might support. Yeah, I'm sure you'll be able to word it correctly.
So let me state this for commissioners. benefit and see if you're comfortable with this guidance to the executive director. I would like to give the executive director the authority, freedom, whatever, to testify on this bill representing the LUC based on his understanding of the discussions that occurred here today and the concerns that were raised about this bill. Recognizing that the intent is for improved efficiency and effectiveness of the land use decision-making process, but as written, we have issues with the bill, something to that nature. Are you consistent with giving that guidance to the executive director as I've just stated it and leaving it at that?
Brian, are you on, Brian?
No.
Commissioner Kahele.
You know, Chair, I'm assuming, and the short time that I've been here as a commissioner, the director basically went up there and did what he had to do at the ledge, whether it was supporting bills, not taking a position on any other bills, opposing bills. So I think with his now response to this bill that he stated earlier, you know, and we do a lot of work at the state capitol. I spend 70% of my time up there with some of you, maybe with Brian. And you know, I'm not sure how many of you up there, but I spend a lot of time up there. We got to be careful in what we say up there because there may be feelings that may be hurt. And that's basically, you know, people just being human. We go up there and we make a statement that people may not, well, these powerful legislators up there may not want to hear. You know, we might kind of like add more wood to the fire. So with Dan's statement and what he's stated earlier, you know, I think we can live with that. I think we can live with that statement, and instead of complicating things more. And you know, my opinion with Senate Bill 28, with the current referral, I don't think this bill is going to go anywhere. But anyway, you know, that's me just believing what I think Dan should be doing.
Anybody else?
Yeah, quick one.
Commissioner,
And I'm okay. I don't want to over analyze or micromanage people. It's not in my wheelhouse. And I threw out that I would be supportive of three bills, mainly three people voting, and I wanted to see what the reaction was at times, right? Yeah, I mean, if you go throw out the higher, you gotta throw in the higher and the low for see what you come up with. But that's how we vet stuff. I feel like you gotta throw it out there. So this was me throwing it out there. Yeah.
okay, thank you.
And you know, Mr. Wu, you know, me and you come from the same yoke, construction workers. We worry about the people out there. We worry about our community. We worry about the working class out there struggling. We worry about the Hawaiians out there, no matter where it is, Oahu, Maui, Kauai, and that's the reason why you and I and most of us can relate, is because we're tired of seeing our families, our friends, our coworkers moving up to the mainland because they cannot live here. So anyway, I just wanted to share that, brother. Everything's cool.
Okay, here, if there's no further specific motion on this, I will bring this agenda item to a close. Okay, oh yeah, second public testimony. Is there anybody online still wishing to testify on this motion?
Seeing none on the Q&A, Chair.
Okay, we will close this agenda item and move to the next one. Okay, Senate Bill 36. Any public testimony written received on this one that we haven't already heard about?
I have Chuck Fleury on the Zoom who would like to testify on this agenda item. I will promote him now.
Thank you. Yeah, this is public testimony. goals.
Can I get a mic check and a video?
Sure.
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. I'm sorry. I just got signed on here.
Sir, would you please state your name and address, and then I'll swear you in?
Chuck Flaherty, 81-950 Makahiki Lane, Captain Cook 96704.
Thank you, Mr. Flaherty. Do you swear your testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I do. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
So we're specific to Senate Bill 36 and our position on that Senate bill. You have 2 minutes. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. I'm testifying on behalf of the Hawaii Island Group of the Sierra Club of Hawaii on this particular agenda item. We apologize for submitting late testimony to the Land Use Commission. You will have received it during this meeting. This proposed legislation is a red herring. Affordable housing developments can already receive expedited approval under HRS 201H. Not all land in the urban expansion area is appropriate for urban development. A perfect example is the recent county rezoning applicant seeking to extend the time for a development originally granted LUC and county approvals in the 1980s. It may be the property that was referred to earlier, which had 3 changes of ownership. Because of the profound changes that have occurred over the past 40 years, the original conditions for redistricting by the LUC were no longer appropriate. The 2 FEMA floodways that run through the property had several flooding events over the past 2 decades, which was one of the primary reasons that the extension was denied. In addition, the development had been allowed to proceed with the first phase without fulfilling the affordable housing requirement. As a result, the County Council denied the rezoning extension. The Hawaii Island Group urges the LUC not to relinquish its authority to approve applications proposing to reclassify lands designated as urban growth in county general plans and other community development plans. In particular, I'll provide testimony to this more extensively later with the other legislation, but in particular, the county general plan currently under review, there's a lot of controversy and is not necessarily reflecting the public's desires. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Flaherty. Commissioners, any questions for this witness? Thank you for your time and effort to come forward. Appreciate it. Mr. Arndenker, would you please give us a
We
brief?
have another testifier.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, sorry, one more. Wayne Tanaka, I'll promote him now.
Thank you. Mr. Tanaka, you're still under oath. You've got 2 minutes to testify on SB 36. Please proceed.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Yeah, sorry, I didn't intend to testify again, but I just wanted to maybe share a reality check about our housing challenges. Because the reality is that just building, it's not going to necessarily keep people here and could even drive people away. Not when we have a global demand for land in Hawaii, when our largest landowners are legally obligated to maximize their shareholders' revenues. When land and material costs just keep going up and up and up, and yet more outside buyers are coming in and using up, what little water and sewer infrastructure we have. And so really the reality is, which we have ample evidence of, is that if we don't have questions, if we don't have institutions like the Land Use Commission to set safeguards, then just streamlining construction to build housing could make the situation for us local folks worse, right? So, and there's questions that you can ask, right? Who benefits from development proposals? Will it be local residents? Will it be people in need of affordable housing? What happens, as I mentioned, if our water and sewer infrastructure gets used up by expedited high-end developments? Like, where does that leave, by outside investors? Like, where does that leave us in the future, right? Our kids? Are the developers, real estate investment trusts? Are they private equity firms? Do they know what Native Hawaiian traditional custom practices are? Like, are they even legally allowed to care about our food security or our public trust? And if not, then who can make them care, right? And if our children do stay here, will they be dependent on imported processed foods? Will they be able to maintain their connections to their island, to their ocean icebox? When streams are dried up or estuaries, continually polluted by malcolm land uses? Will they even have access to fresh water? And so some of these questions, I know you can't help with, but many of these you can. You can make sure that development is responsible and is sustainable and serves the public's interest, and does not drive people away from these islands. And I know the pressure on you to abdicate this responsibility is huge. That's why we're seeing all these bills. And it's a heavy kuleana to say, to some of the most powerful entities in our islands, like try wait, let's think about this, and let's make sure this helps everybody. But really that's what you agreed to do, and that's again what we need you to do, and what our kids need to do. So just generally speaking, if we're gonna push,
I need you to conclude, please.
yeah, I'm sorry, concluding. Yeah, we just need to be very mindful about what we're actually promoting in our desire to move the needle in terms of our housing challenges. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Tanaka. Commissioners, any questions, comments? Thank you. Thanks for making the time again. Ms. Kwan, anybody else?
That is all, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Rundaker, please summarize this bill and your concerns or recommendations for testimony.
But I have Mr. Derrickson start out on this measure.
Mr. Derrickson, please proceed.
Okay, aloha, Scott Derrickson, State Land Use Commission, Chief Planner. Senate Bill 36 relating to the Land Use Commission would create a new section under Chapter 205 to allow the reclassification of lands that are not currently in the urban district, but are designated for urban growth in a county general plan or development plan or community plan, provided that the requisite analysis are completed before a request is submitted to the LUC. It would require meets and bounds descriptions and a map, and the LUC would have 90 days then to update the boundary on an official LUC maps and notify the county. And it requires the Land Use Commission to adopt new rules to effectuate this new process. Should I go ahead and talk about some of the issues?
Yeah.
Okay. The process that's laid out here appears to mandate that the LUC would reclassify strictly based on a county's request and only needing a provision of meets and bounds description and a map of whatever the county has provided. The term requisite analysis are completed, and these would be requisite analysis completed by the county. It's unclear what that means. There's no definition of what that would entail, and who determines that if it's occurred, if that requisite analysis has been actually conducted. Since it says that it's to happen before the request is submitted to the LUC, it would follow that the county would be the body to make that call, but it's not clear. There are no requirements to address public trust issues. State issues, such as concerns with that DOT might have, the Department of Transportation, the Department of Education, DLNR, Department of Land and Natural Resources. It does not anywhere say that they are to address infrastructure adequacy. Presumably, some of these things might be and probably are discussed during the years-long process of county general plan amendments or development plan and community plan updates. But my experience in participating in those processes is that while infrastructure is discussed, sometimes Native Hawaiian rights are discussed, water is discussed, the details of how to address those issues is not laid out in the general plan, development plan, community plan updates. It's left for another time at another stage of the process. This would also require a significant increase in Office of Planning and Sustainable Development representation by the state during each of the county's general plan and community plan and development plan processes in order to make sure that state issues, public trust issues are discussed and addressed.
Thank you, Scott. I would add some concerns there. It's my belief, as I stated previously when these bills like this were discussed at our last hearing, that there are serious due process issues with this type of a proposal. I also believe that there's the very real possibility that small farmers will not be able to continue their activity. I mean, it must be made clear that once land is urbanized, then a lot of the farming activities that are currently performed on small farmlands, like raising pigs or things like that, will become a violation of the zoning laws. I also believe that if going back to the Kapaakai analysis, that every decision made by any agency is now required to adhere to Kapaakai and an analysis to be done. Because of the word shall, I believe that the Land Use Commission cannot do a Kapaakai analysis if it was presented with this matter, because you cannot delegate the Kapaakai analysis to another organization. All that being said, it is my belief that SB 36 and a couple of the other bills that we're going to talk about are essentially elimination of the Land Use Commission, except for special permits.
Illumination or?
Elimination.
Oh, elimination.
I think that from staff standpoint, it would be disingenuous for us to appear before the legislature and advocate for our own demise. I have a real problem with that. Yeah. My ultimate suggestion on this bill and the other bills that do something similar is that we just take no position.
Chair, can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah,
please?
that's where we're at. So please
Yeah.
do.
I'm a little confused because you were talking about farms and the demise of farms and pig ranches and such, but this says for areas that are already in the urban areas of the county, the specific county.
That's not quite accurate. The bill proposes that the counties be given authority to redistrict lands inside the urban growth boundaries that may currently be ag to urban. So that's the concern.
So if the county determines that this area is part of the urban growth, then you don't think they should have the right to do that?
No, I don't. I think that the due process, constitutional due process, requires that each and every landowner within that county be given a hearing.
Do you not agree that the county provides that hearing?
No, I do not.
Well, I know
Not
for a
under
fact
the
that
general
the
plan- not under the
counties.
general plan process, no.
Mhm. Well, I know that the counties do the Kapaakai analysis.
I think the point is they do the Kapaakai analysis for a specific request or petition, but not as part of the general plan. Whereas this bill, if I understand it correctly, says you would redistrict at the county level based on the general plan, which is which does not include some of those considerations.
Thank you.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Sure.
Commissioner Wu.
Yeah, just my mono. I've been to, I've been through the community plan process, and within that process of the community plan, it goes from the general plan, Well, I think community plan, it goes back to the planning commission, and it goes back to the county council. And I can trust me when I tell you this, you have way more, a lot more testimony at the community plans than we're having currently. It's not close. So what I'm saying is the vetting process, and remind you now that within the community plan, most of the people within the specific community comes out. So it's more hyper focused and hypersensitive within the community. So I disagreed. A lot was being said here. It's been vetted through a process that's at times is 100 people, times it's 20 people, but there's more than two. I'm gonna assure you of that. And that two, if you're gonna ask them what the zip code is, it's within the community. So that's just my manao. I've been a part of that process, and I think we should have that right, the counties, not the state oversight. I think there's a lot of duplicated processes within the community. I think the reason why it's here, and I'm definitely I could be wrong, but Lahaina got burnt, and some of the community plans within that area was urbanized, but it's different from the state. And when we have magnitudes that affect residents to that degree, we must take stances that hopefully can create the housing before we get lost in the shuffle. It's just my manao. And I think part of that power goes back to the county. I could be naive, but it just so seems like it is asking for it. In fact, there's a lot of duplicating bills like this. And again, I could be wrong, but again, some of those community meetings, a lot more testimony than we have here today for sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Wu. Can I ask you, to expand about, since you said you've participated directly in the county level processes. The issue has been raised about the small landowner that is on agricultural land and whether or not he gets quote unquote due process when the county is doing its general planning to redistrict or put his land that's in agriculture into urban. What say does he have in that process? I'm not a lawyer either.
I think that's a very good question. And again, for some reason, I guess what I would say, the first time I participated in the community plan change or the process is when I was on the planning commission. I say 20 plus years ago. Yeah. So at that time, that was prior to social media, prior to the news coming on your phone. I mean, so I think at the time, I think was the opposite. I think we zone, it was lands was zoned different, but wasn't by way of ag, but it was by ways where people maybe wasn't notified. But I think the last one we had where we're on Lahaina, it was a lot of people that showed up. I say I think that the process now with the social media really gains that traction, and I'll be hard pressed to, and I could be wrong. It could definitely happen. I'm not saying it's not what it's never going to happen. It could happen, but the participation is pretty much impressed. I'm impressed with the participation. So I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying the participation is great. And for that reasons, there's a possibility that may or may not, but err on the side of that person who know. Just to let you know, you guys know, my family was in pig farming for 100 years. So, when you guys talk about pig farming, I understand pig farming. And I'm not saying it as a speech. I'm just saying, my house, Paia, 100 years we had a pig farm. That's what I'm saying. The slop came from Paia school. So when they have people talk about it, it's pretty cool, but we did it for a living, some of my family. So that's my manao.
Okay. Commissioners. Commissioner Lee.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think this bill is really flawed. I'm good with the executive officer just making comments on it when asked. But I agree with Commissioner Wu that there's 5 of us here who've been county planning commissioners, and that process is very extensive. It's much more extensive than the 45 days or whatever that we have to make decisions. They not only have appointed county planning commissioners, they also have elected council members. And yeah, it's in the hundreds, you know, and the county councils have 2 to 3 hearings minimum on stuff. So I think this bill is flawed. I'm okay with Dan just giving expert commentary, but I don't know that I have any position or want to take any position on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Others? Commissioner Carsmith?
Yeah, I just wanted to note that Hawaii County Planning Department weighed in on this. And they agree with this bill. I'm guessing most counties do. I think it's good to also keep in perspective the fact that Hawaii Island, for example, has something like 2% of the land is urban. I mean, if you think about that, do we really want to push back so hard on some of these opportunities for a little bit more land to become urban, so that there can be more housing built? Each island is really low, and I'm not sure whether everybody is aware of that or not, but I think it's a good thing to keep in mind. And yeah, so I support my county.
Commissioner Lee?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I want to acknowledge that it is different on the Big Island, and the testimony that the executive officer may provide, I mean, you know, the legislators can ignore it or not. They're going to do what they want to do, you know. Sometimes they'll use our reasoning as the excuse, or they could just ignore it altogether. It's up to them. But, you know, I think that if the executive officer testifies factually, then at least the legislators can take that information that, yes, if there are errors and things they hadn't considered, and they still want to do this because they want to listen to what the Big Island wants or what other people want, then at least it gives them the basis to fix some of the things that might be wrong. Thank you.
Fair enough. Commissioner Wu?
Yeah, again, thank you. And Maui's at 6%, you at 2%. I just saying it's and I get it. You know, I don't at times, but that's why we have the discussions. And I wouldn't say this. I respect everyone's opinion and viewpoint, and I love that discussion. Seems like I'm at home talking to my wife, so brings back memories, guys. So just FYI, mahalo.
You have talks. I get orders.
Yeah.
So my takeaway from the discussion so far, and in the absence of any specific motion otherwise, is to provide a green light, so to speak, to the executive director to provide clarifying testimony to the, if asked, or if at hearings as appropriate with the issues that you see. But I don't want to go away from the other recommendation that was made by the executive officer, because I think it's appropriate. And that is that for bills which in effect, what was your word? Eliminate the LUC. We should not be up there testifying one way or another. Correct? Correct? Yeah. Okay. So if there's nothing further, I'm going to move on to the next testimony, with public testimony on SB 36, if any. And if not, we'll move on.
Sure.
What's that? Oh, Commissioner Miyasato, my apologies. I didn't see your hand up. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I need to address the issue that I spoke of earlier, so I'll be excusing myself.
Okay, we're going to take a, it's 1:37. I'm going to recess to 1:45, and maybe you'll be back, maybe not. Thank you for the heads up.
Okay, thank you.
Take a recess to 1:45. So, Ms. Kwan, do we have somebody who wants to testify on SB 36?
Yes, I have two on the Zoom. I will promote Wayne Tanaka now.
Okay, we're back in session. Wayne Tanaka testified before the discussion. Now he's going to testify after. So I will admonish him to keep his testimony fresh. Mr. Tanaka, welcome back. You will be given an additional 2 minutes to testify on anything new that you want to say, not repetitive. Please proceed.
Thank you so much. And yeah, last time I promise. Just wanted to make a quick comment though, since we mentioned Lahaina and Maui Kumohana. Just wanted to, think about and reflect on who was using up all the water in West Maui, right? Who turned Lahaina into a tinderbox? And if you look at the PUC dockets for La Niña Popo irrigation, look at the Water Commission reports and who's been using water for what, it's these multi-million-dollar gentleman farms and ag lands that have been using 1% of the water they're taking for actual agriculture. And otherwise, millions of gallons of water every single day were being used to water green lawns, put into swimming pools, or leave in unlined reservoirs that just seep that water into the ground, creating those conditions for the wildfire and the destruction of Lahaina. And who's responsible for this, right? Who never used their authority to enforce the ag zoning laws in West Maui? And which not only led to the destruction of Lahaina, but also drives up costs for bona fide farmers, for land and housing costs across the board for everyone. It was the county, right? The county planning department. So, our land use laws aren't duplicative. The counties have their own authorities. They're limited authorities, they have limited capacity, limited line of sight to the bigger picture, and they don't produce the kinds of findings of fact and the record that you folks do that can show how their land use decisions are made, whose testimony got more weight, and so forth. And on the other hand, the Land Use Commission can make these findings. You do make these findings of fact. You can place enforceable conditions on district boundary amendments and those kinds of changes, and you can protect the public, right? To address climate destabilization, to protect bona fide farms, to protect the public from avoidable impacts. And so, just wanted to add that as something to reflect on. And
Thank you very much. That was new. Commissioners, any comment or question? Thank you, Mr. Tanaka. Who the next testifier?
Next, I have Tara Roja. I will promote her now.
She's not testified already today, right? She's new.
Yep.
All right.
Aloha, can you hear me?
Are you able to turn on your camera?
Yeah. Hold on a second.
Ms. Rosa, you coming on? There you are. I see you.
Aloha, Tara Rojas.
Thank you. Could you please state your name and address?
Tara Rojas. So I wanted to say that SB 36, yes?
Wait. I need your name and address, then I'll swear you in. Then you can say what you want.
Tara Rojas and ʻEwa Beach.
And do you swear your testimony will be the truth?
Yes.
Then you have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Okay. So Tara Rojas and SB 36. So I just want to say, again, that I strongly oppose SB 36 because I just came, for example, from the HCDA meetings and, planning commission, county council meetings, and basically, it's just stripping the land use commission of your critical oversight role. And it forces, the automatic reclassification of lands to urban at county's request. And you prioritizing, as we notice in the whole state of Hawaii, developers over community voices and environmental responsibilities and concerns. So, counties have a history of approving urban growth without fully considering the infrastructure capacity. We're in a water crisis, the environmental impact, and community needs. And so this bill is an open invitation to unchecked, in addition to what already has been happening throughout the 132 years of this illegal occupation, of unchecked urban sprawl and land speculation. So we need more safeguards, not less. And so we need to ensure that the land decisions serve the people, not just private interests. And with that, I also want to just really quickly state that the previous decision that happened about Haseko having a history of controversial land uses and, the bait and switch on the planned marina, change to lagoon, cracking the water table. So I just want to say deep disappointment because when a developer shows up with a whole team, does that automatically guarantee a unanimous yes? Where's that same level of urgency when it comes to
Ms.
protecting
Rojas,
our land and
we need you to
resources?
confine your remarks to SB 36 at this time, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so
Thank
just
you.
avoid rubber stamping developers and realize that your role is really just to protect the AINA and the people, not developers, not
Very good.
profit people. Mahalo.
Hello. Commissioners, questions, comments from Ms. Rojas? Thank you, Ms. Rojas, for coming forward and making the time today. Thank you.
Mahalo.
Okay, so that brings SB 36 to.
I have one more testifier.
There we go.
Chuck Flaherty would like to add additional comments. I will
Okay.
promote him again.
Thank you.
Mahalo, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to respond to some comments that I made during the discussion. I'm speaking now personally. I participated in the comprehensive review process for the general plan back in the early 2000s for the County of Hawaii, the development of the Kona Community Development Plan, which is the first community development plan on the island of Hawaii. There have been 5 subsequent to that, as well as participating in the current county general plan comprehensive review process. I want to be clear that the Land Use Commission operates under the state constitution and Hawaii revised statutes. The county general plans operate under the county charters and county code. So we're comparing apples and oranges. The urban expansion areas to which this bill refers are very broad strokes that were put in place primarily around Kailua Kona, quite frankly, that were put into place as a concept, not with any specific input as to any of the constitutionally protected resources or state laws that may be impacted by that designation. So it really is a very dangerous move to pass this bill because urban expansion area was a broad brush concept done on a county level without regard to necessarily state laws. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Flaherty. Commissioners, any further questions for Mr. Flaherty? Thank you, Mr. Flaherty, for coming forward. So that brings SB 36 to a close. We have empowered our executive officer to provide testimony along the lines that he recommended, pointing out the concerns about this bill. Also to take no position on a bill that would virtually eliminate the LUC. Check. Got that, Mr. Executive Director?
I got it.
Okay. So we'll now move on to the 8th agenda item, decision on commissioner's position regarding SB 1079 and HB 502, which are basically the same. One is Senate bill, one a House bill. Ms. Kwan, any written testimony was considered earlier, so is there any oral testimony that people have signed up for on these bills?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have Chuck Flaherty who would like to testify on this item.
Oh, Mr. Flaherty. Is he still on? Yes. Very good. Mr. Flaherty, you have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
I won't take that long. Thank you, Mr. Chair. With regard to this proposed legislation, the state legislature passed legislation last year that allowed for a minimum of 2 accessory dwelling units on properties within the state land use urban district. Y'all may have been familiar with that. It was very controversial. Shortly thereafter, though, the County of Hawaii approved a revision of its code that allows up to 3 accessory dwelling units on land, not just in the state urban district, but also for properties in the state rural district. If the county were allowed to submit petitions for declaratory rulings to redesignate agricultural subdivisions into the rural district, then property owners would be able to build up to 3 additional accessory dwelling units. Given the public infrastructure on the island of Hawaii is already beyond capacity, and the current county general plan comprehensive review process has not in any way taken into consideration the impact of the increased densities that would result from these accessory dwelling units, this legislation could have disastrous unintended consequences. And so the Hawaii Island Group urges the Land Use Commission to give this an unfavorable recommendation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Flaherty. Any questions, comments for Mr. Flaherty? Hearing none. Anybody else, Ms. Kwan, on this bill?
Seeing none in the Q&A feature, Chair.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ondanker, will you and staff please provide a brief summary of this proposed legislation and your concerns and recommendations?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is what it attempts to accomplish, a fairly simple bill, unintended consequences aside. It gives the counties 3 years by resolution of its county council to submit a petition to the LUSC for the redistricting of land from an agricultural district to a rural district if the land has been developed for single-family residences that are currently in the agricultural district and subdivided into lots that are no larger than 1 acre in size. The land is a part of an existing agricultural subdivision. A single-family residence is constructed on each lot. And any requirements for Chapter 343 are met. And it won't affect neighboring agriculture. It's supported by the county plan. And the county council provides notice, and OPSD has made a recommendation. It gives us the ability to, gives the Land Use Commission the ability to process those petitions as a declaratory order. This is a cleanup bill. This has been talked about with me at the legislature for some time, going on maybe 7 or 8 years. Hawaii County in particular has a problem with a bunch of agricultural residential developments that are in the agricultural district and not in the urban district. I understand, or the rural district, and they have a desire to clean up the problem. I believe that the intent of this bill is good, but I do have concerns, as was mentioned by the testifiers, of unintended consequences. My recommendation is that we submit testimony with concerns. Not that we oppose it or support it, but that we just express concerns.
The urban sprawl concern?
No, I think our concern is, it mirrors what was just mentioned, and that is that we don't overburden the infrastructure by all of a sudden allowing 3 homes per 1 acre lot. I think that, that if the legislature so finds, it could amend the bill to ensure that there's not an overburdening of infrastructure. But I mean, from the standpoint of cleaning up the districts, I don't think it's a bad idea.
Okay. Commissioners, Mr. Carsmith.
Yeah. Hawaii County has a process for that. I mean, you cannot just add 3 ADUs without having the infrastructure to support it. So I don't think that that should be an issue from us, because that's already part of their process.
I think that the way I would testify on that would be that, provided that the infrastructure is in place for whatever, for additional homes. But that's the only comment that I would make on this bill.
Okay, well, you had said just a minute ago that you would address your concerns. I like it more when you say the things that you like about it.
Okay, okay, yeah.
Personally.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot of things to like about this bill. It cleans up the districts. I mean, right now, there's a lot of sham districts, agriculture, but, oh, well, this is really single-family residence. And a lot of the problems that the county is having are related to infrastructure. Because Paradise Park, for instance, in places like that, there's no fire hydrants, because it's ag. And they don't want to put fire hydrants in ag land. They don't take over the roads, all the rest of those things. So I don't think that the counties are going to submit requests haphazardly and just do it blanket. I think they're going to make decisions on what they can handle, but the intent is good.
Good, thank you.
Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I note that the Senate bill is from Senator Inouye, who's from the Big Island, and in Honolulu also, you have to have the infrastructure before you can build the ADUs. But I think that one of the problems has always been promoting local farming and local produce. And one of the big problems is people don't have a place to live if they want to farm. Farming is very difficult. And this might be something that helps that effort. So yeah, anything positive and with the cautions, of course, I think it would be a good idea.
So it sounds like we concur with the recommendation to express support for the intent of the bill, provided the infrastructure type issues are dealt with on a case-by-case basis. Is that right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think this bill originated from Heather Kimball, who was the chair of the county council, and
Okay.
so
Okay. Who is it? Okay, let's hear from Ms. Roja.
Ms. Roja, I'm going to promote you to panelist so you can give your testimony.
Roja Rojas.
Sorry.
Okay, aloha, Rojas. And so, I'm listening to this, and this is my first time in the Land Use Commission. Been to the other meetings, and I hear what your discussion about, farmers, mahi'ai. You want to make it easier for them to farm and then to live. However, it's super easy. We see it happening always. When you reclassify agricultural land into rural land, and it's a well-documented, gateway to urbanization. And so this is not like a harmless administrative change. It sets a precedent, possibly dangerous precedent, that weakens long-standing land protections. And so agricultural lands, once they're lost, they're lost. They're nearly impossible to restore. And, once somebody's on it, are they going to want to, give it up? So just glancing again at, just looking at all the bills, was looking at many other bills trying to keep up with too. But basically, like I said, I'm going to bring it in here because they were there, that the privatization, just kind of rubber stamping, always given to developers. Legislation, as we've seen throughout these 132 years, ultimately benefits private developers and not local communities. Puts our island's food security at risk, sustainable agriculture, and future self-sufficiency. So instead of fast-tracking rezoning, you should be strengthening the protection for agricultural lands to ensure they remain a viable resource for future generations. And so not a speculative development opportunity, again, because we know how things work in Hawaii with this whole legislative process. There's just very few bills that really protect the environment and have people's best interests, because people that know this system know how to find the loopholes around it. And I really, I don't know, I don't have, my first time again with you all. And just by hearing you say that you back up the concerns that we're mentioning is a good sign. But like I said again, when these developers know the loopholes, and like if the Haseko can go the whole team and get it passed, knowing that their history is not for the environment nor the people, rather their profit, that's a huge concern.
Thank you. I need
So
to.
mahalo.
Mahalo. Commissioners, any question or comments from Ms. Rojas? Thank you, Ms. Rojas, for coming forward again. Appreciate it. Very good. Who is it?
I have Chuck Flaherty who would like to provide additional testimony.
Mr. Flaherty, nice to meet you again. Please proceed. Oh, you're not on yet. Yes, keep Mr. Flaherty on. Mr. Flaherty, please proceed.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, my computer has a delay when I'm joined as a panelist. So yes, just to follow up, I heard the comments, but just to be clear, when we're talking about moving an agricultural subdivision into rural on the Big Island, we're talking about the potential for up to 3 accessory dwelling units to be added to each lot. There's no way, and obviously there's going to be an impact on infrastructure. I really don't understand how the impact on infrastructure can be addressed when there's no way to know what each individual property owner is going to do, how many they're going to add. So if that's were to happen, you would have to assume the maximum number of ADUs on each of the properties in order to assure that the infrastructure would be sufficient. And given that we're already facing the challenge with cesspools, with power brownouts, wastewater issues on the Big Island, I just don't see how this legislation is pragmatically works out in the real world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments, commissioners? Thank you, Mr. Flaherty. Anybody else? Ms. Kwan?
Seeing none in the Q&A feature, Chair.
Okay, so Executive Director, are you clear on how to proceed on this one?
Yeah, yes, I am, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
So
All right.
reviewing the next bill.
So we're down to 5 commissioners, and we're going to lose Commissioner Hayashida at 2:30. So if Commissioner Miyasato does not return by 2:30, we will lose a quorum and we will adjourn the meeting. Heads up. So let's try to do at least one more before Commissioner Hayashida has to leave at 2:30. Is that correct? 2:30? That's SB 1114. Has there been anybody wishing to do public testimony on 1114, Senate bill?
Nobody used the Q&A feature to testify on agenda item 9.
Thank you. Mr. Rundaker, please give us a summary of this bill and your concerns and recommended testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill creates a process whereby the landowner of a 30-acre parcel could construct senior housing facilities or elderly housing facilities on portions of their land no more than 15 acres. Personally, I'm very conflicted by this measure. I'm not sure what it's attempting to accomplish because it lays out a process that's pretty similar to a 201H process. So I'm not sure why it's necessary, but the intent is a good one. I am concerned that there are some real long-term problems if the land is not eventually urbanized. But I think this bill lays out a somewhat of a process to urbanize land. I honestly don't know what I would say on this measure if it was heard. I think that I would just be there to answer questions because I'm not, I mean, I'm not sure what the difference is between a 201H process or an elderly housing DBA from what this is proposing. So that's my comments.
Okay, so if I understand you correctly, the intent seems to be favorable, but it's uncertain what it's really intended to do.
Yeah.
And so you're not prepared to offer specific testimony. So you were saying you would not testify, and this bill would be available for Q&A.
Yeah, that's the way I would handle the first hearing of this bill. And if it moved, we would have to see how it was amended before I would make a decision.
Commissioners, any comments or questions on this bill? Mr. Carsmith?
Thank you. So, Dan, is elderly housing facilities or long-term care a part of the 201H system? It's not.
Not necessarily, but if a developer of, I'm speaking from personal experience because one of my previous lives, I was a consultant for an association that was doing elderly housing. If you phrase it properly, you know, you can get 201H funding for a project like this and go through the 201H process. If it's artfully done, you fall within 201H.
But if that was as easy as that, don't you think they would have not put this forward?
I'm not sure why this bill was put forward. I like I said, when I started out, I'm conflicted by this. I'm not sure what they were trying to accomplish. I think that if the aim was really to develop a 201H process for this type of housing, they should have amended 201H. So, I mean, that's why I'm saying I support the intent of this bill vehemently because I used to do elderly housing, but I'm not really sure from a procedural standpoint what they're trying to accomplish here.
So I would appreciate you stating that you support the intention.
I can do that.
Mr. Lee?
Yeah, I'm a little confused too. I didn't realize that with 201H, you can do district boundary amendments.
201H provides a process for a truncated district boundary amendment proceeding. Once the county council has made a determination on what it is willing to waive, we have 45 days to do a DBA, which really means
do it.
Yeah, what we're just doing. So,
okay, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Wu, did you have-
I'm good what Director said earlier.
Thank you. Yeah, me too. It's like, you appreciate the intent, not sure why it's necessary, here to answer questions. Okay. Pardon me? Okay, so let's return to the second round of public testimony. Anybody there?
Yes, I'm gonna call for Tara Roja.
Okay. We'll leave her on too.
Okay, aloha. So, just again, looking at it, majority of them, they're so, it seems so like repetitive and just opposing a lot of them. There's just a few I support, like couple with support reservations, and like from 14 on, it's like support because it's for Mahi'ai. Again, as you all were discussing right now, love our kupuna, and yes, we need elderly housing. However, permitting development on agricultural land again sets a concerning, precedent, and so can lead to further encroachment and on lands, vital for agriculture. And so potentially, compromising again, food security, that's ag land, right? And sustainable farming practices. So it's essential, to explore alternative solutions that do not involve converting agricultural spaces. So just for a heads up, the next one, like, the SB 1157, like oppose.
Oh, don't go there. Just stay with
Yeah,
one.
okay. Because it just
Come
seems so
back.
repetitive that it's like, oh my
I'm
gosh, it's just
sorry,
like,
but that's the process we have.
I
One by
know.
one, we're taking them. We're
What?
not doing.
Yeah, so that's my comment, that these bills try in so many different ways to do the same thing. And it just takes a lot of time when, yeah, you just have to have the right mindset, decolonized mindset to be able to make the right decisions for Hawaii, not in
Fair enough.
favor of developers, yeah, for profit. It's for
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Mahalo.
We understand where you're coming from.
Mahalo.
Commissioners, anything for Ms. Rojas? No. Okay, does Mr. Flaherty sign up? Okay, so you're good to go on this one?
Yes, I am, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so we got 10, 12 minutes left. We're making headway. Senate Bill 1117.
1157.
Oh, my eyes, put my glasses on. 1157. My apologies. So Mr. Flaherty is available to testify on this bill?
Yes, Mr. Flaherty has signed up for oral testimony. Go ahead and turn your mic and camera on.
Mr. Flaherty, please proceed.
Hello, Mr. Chair. Yes, on bill, and actually it's related to the next agenda item too, but I'll testify on this one. The County of Hawaii is currently conducting a comprehensive review of its general plan since the county Hawaii Planning Director issued the current draft general plan referred to as General Plan 2045. There have been common themes in public testimony. One theme is related to the fact that the planning department engaged a private contractor to place the general plan.
Mr. Flaherty, could you
Yes.
clarify? Did you say Kauai or Island of Hawaii?
The island of Hawaii. I'm sorry.
Thank
Yes.
you. Okay,
Yes,
please
I'm speaking. I'm basically speaking about issues with these state issues from the perspective of the County of Hawaii. I apologize. Yes.
Thank you. Please proceed.
So one theme is related to the fact that the planning department engaged a private contractor to place the General Plan 2045 on an online platform that required the public to learn a software to provide comments on the written text and to learn another software program in order to review and comment on the land use maps. This immediately disenfranchised a large portion of the county's legal residents. The County Windward Planning Commission is conducting a special meeting to review the draft General Plan 2045 at this very moment. If the commissioners were to watch public testimony being submitted at this meeting, as well as the prior meetings of the Leeward and Windward Planning Commissions of the Island of Hawaii on YouTube, you would see that the draft general plan is not only opposed, but that the public has only been recently learning of the comprehensive review process because of increased attention by social media influencers. Therefore, the Hawaii Island Group urges the Land Use Commission to not relinquish its authority to county general plans and or community development plans and to give this an unfavorable recommendation. And I apologize, I have to leave, but this testimony also relates to the next agenda item as well. Thank you very much.
We're going to adjourn after this, Mr. Flaherty, after consideration of this agenda item. So if you want to participate in the next agenda item, we'll see you at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Ordaker. Oh, you got one more. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Tara Rojas said she would like to testify on this item as well.
Very well. Ms. Rojas, please proceed when you're ready.
Oh, didn't realize I was still on. Okay. Aloha. So this bill, really reduces the state level oversight, like the previous testifier just said, to permit counties to reclassify without, the land use commission involvement. And so potentially leading to inconsistent land use decisions and again, increased urbanization of rural areas. And so maintaining LUC oversight ensures a balanced approach to development and again, just preserving the integrity of rural communities. We got to keep Hawaii. There's no reason to see an undeveloped plot of land and like, oh my gosh, I got to develop it. That's what it is. You got to leave the land as is. You got to restore ahupua'a mindset and practice. You got to restore and, for food systems, not for development. But how the system is rigged or worked or made or started, it's all a foreign, not of here mindset, and it's in bylaws, and the bylaws say that we have to develop, and the bylaws say that we have to do this. And it's like, when is common sense going to come back to one, realize don't build on the coastline, first of all. You see that Maui apartment building, the base foundation destabilized, because it was built on marshland, and you see all the mud cleanup. It's like, when is this illegally occupied state going to learn to decolonize their mindset? You just ask the Kanaka that know and have kiloed that area, listen to them when it says no, not to build. But because you got County Planning Commission's bylaws and HCDA agencies built, and they're all just gonna build and build and build till there's like no land left. I saw it in Kalailoa here in Oʻahu, where they said, oh, you know what? There was supposed to be different zoning levels, really quick. There's different zoning levels. One is like pure untouched.
We need for you to conclude.
Okay, I'll conclude that they had zero zoning level, just like the Mauna. Oh, but because it got disturbed, now there is no pure nature, just only area. So that's this mindset. That's what you got to protect. The pure, just leave the land as is, rural and or for agriculture, for traditional ahupua'a mindset and agriculture practices.
Thank you.
Mahalo.
Commissioners, any comments or questions for Ms. Rojas? Hearing none. Dan Orndaker, please give us a summary of this bill and your recommendations and concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill is similar to SB 36, which we already discussed as agenda item 7. It authorizes the counties to undertake district boundary amendments consistent with the general plan. However, I think this bill is even more flawed because it allows the counties to consolidate proceedings to amend state and land use boundaries with the county proceedings to amend the general plans and development plans. Once again, I would take the same position that I did with SB 36, and that is that we should only provide comments.
What comments?
My comments would be that the bill, I have concerns about the appropriateness of consolidating proceedings and the due process involved with this type of a proposal.
So just to remind, on SB 36, our position was to take no position explicitly, but to enable you to address questions and share concerns.
That is correct.
And you want the same, you're recommending the same for SB 1157, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, commissioners, you good with that?
I just like to make a note, and I know a lot of been talk is about, it's about giving the powers to the county and maybe the state should have the oversight. I just wanted to point out that the recommendations and the bills that's being proposed or vetted today is made by the state representatives who wants to give some power back to the county. So we hear, oh, we don't want to give county, and well, and I hear people testifying, say the state should have the oversight, but I just wanted to make mention that, again, the bills we're being heard today are by state representatives that wants to give it back to the county, it seems like. And again, that's something they can vet on their own. We can share our manao with that also.
Yeah, I think that's a great observation, Commissioner Wu. But at the same time, I think that we're getting a small dose today of what the legislature is going to be experiencing in terms of public comments and concerns. And like I said earlier, I think that's more in their wheelhouse of what they do day to day, as opposed to what we do as regulators that are here to enforce existing laws rather than worry too much about what might happen. That's my position. But thank you for that comment. That was interesting and observant. Other comments? Commissioner Carr-Smith, are you winding up for a comment? Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I also feel like the counties are asking for this over and over on different levels for a reason. And I don't think we should just be disregarding them. It's obvious that they wish that the process was different so that they could weigh in more. And I think they know their county, their island better than we do. So I tend to give more weight to what the counties feel about these bills. I don't think we need to do this push and pull and ego thing or power, that we need to maintain the power over these things. If it's best for the county to perhaps have more voice, then I think that's appropriate.
Well, that's what the legislature and the governor will decide at the end of the day. And the counties will, my expectation is they'll represent their point of view.
Right.
And I expect
Well-
there are entities within the state, as Commissioner Wu said, that are sympathetic to those views and agree technically with those views.
Well, that's the reason we're having this conversation, so that we can all weigh in,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's,
Hopefully we hear you.
yeah.
Yeah. And I want our executive director to hear you as well as he goes forward to represent. So. Anything else on this bill?
We have a testifier.
Okay, let's hear that testifier.
Tara Roja?
Mr. Miyashita, please hang on. Hi, Ishida. Can you hang on for 1 minute? Can you hang on for one? Huh? We're not voting, but I'm gonna lose a quorum. I can't even hear this. I need a quorum to hear this testimony.
It's a
1
really
minute.
quick one.
Huh?
No, you
Yeah. Oh, okay, go. Thank
Okay.
you very much. Who wants to speak now?
Yeah, so I just want to just say one really quick thing. I hear what you said, and I'm usually just also for the county too. And that's just the whole thing about this. It just depends, like, do the people sitting in the county seats making the decision have the right mindset? And it's basically, even at this, it's like the people actually have the answers. Even technically, I have to say this, not even like the land use commission or even like the county. It's like the people who, just along your pono and you have the right mindset, then that's the right decision. So whether you're at the state, which actually I'm not for, but the county, but you have actually people that are not fully pono in the county because they're of the profit mindset, greed mindset. So again, whatever your position, you just have to be pono, decolonize your mind, and with that, make your decision.
Thank you very much.
Mahalo.
Any questions, Ms. Rojas? Hearing none. Thank you. So again, in summary, you are to express a comment similar to 36 and take no formal position one way or the other.
understood, Chair.
With that, I'm going to recess today's meeting and ask you to come back at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. And we'll begin with matter number 11. Is that correct, Ms. Kwan? Number 11 is next? Okay. And we will see you tomorrow. Thank you very much. We are adjourned for today. Recess for today.